All right, and we are live. What's going on out there, YouTube? This is FCL0320 representing JVS. So I've got here the podcasters, the YouTubers, and we are going to talk Spider-Man Homecoming. This is going to be completely spoiler-filled, so if you hadn't seen the film, I'd take this, put in your watch list, and come back to it. Anybody that's here, you can go down in the description bar below, check out their Twitter, check out their podcast, check out their channels. And I'm going to let a couple of them go ahead and introduce who they are right now. All right, guys.
I mean, we're going left to right.
I'll go first. Let the awkward silence do the talking. Hey guys, Anthony Rodriguez, and channel name because that's not anything catchy at all. You can see me on my YouTube channel doing movie reviews and TV reviews. Yeah, honored to be here, and yeah. So Zendaya is MJ.
Wow, really?
Remember that?
I mean, well, I gave people forewarning. So
No, you just gonna start off like that? Like what?
Yeah, you gotta.
You know
if
what?
you're watching
Okay.
this and you haven't seen the movie, then you shouldn't be here. So
Yeah.
Wow, like no cut cards, no like let's ease into this, just straight up, boom.
Ah, man, you gotta go in there full tilt, just like bam, you get the full amount.
All right, I guess I'll go. Smoke Crosby from Earth 2 Comicast. You can catch us on YouTube and on SoundCloud. We have a podcast going, Earth 2 Comicast. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays we drop videos, and on Thursdays we drop our podcast. Check us out for comic book content and pretty much anything comic book related, comic book movie related. Now we're doing movie reviews and we're doing a lot of other things. So we might be having some interesting things coming up this month. So check out Earth 2 Comicast for that. Hey. Oh man.
CJ, Three Black Geeks. We have a weekly podcast. We usually put out Monday, Tuesday. I don't really put a day out. I'm just gonna say it's gonna be early that week when we put it out. Make it that way. But we're consistent. It's every week. We got other shows that we do on top of our main show. Morphin Medicast, talk about Power Rangers. Right now we gonna be on Jungle Fury. Working Title Sports Show. Me and D talking about sports. Wrestle Corner. That's kind of like twice a month kind of show that we do. Depends on what's happening. Sometimes more than that. And Comic Book Corner where we talk about comics. I need to actually do a new one coming up before San Diego Comic-Con. So yeah. So we consistently every week you'll see pulling out every week. Damn near all of our podcasts, it does post to YouTube. So if you, for whatever reason, don't feel like going on the iTunes and downloading and stuff, and you just want to just listen to it straight up, you can listen to it on YouTube, or you can just listen to it directly on our site. Either which way, you're listening to it. And we occasionally sometimes do videos. We actually got a couple of videos up from BlurCon that you should check out. And yeah, that's it.
nice. And Anthony, last but not least.
Oh, hey, I'm Anthony. It's an exciting name, a name that you will remember.
I'm sorry.
Better known as a Drunk Geek by Chris. Sometimes I contribute to Three Black Geeks, JVS. I don't know nothing about sports, but I do know comics and sci-fi. And yeah, happy to be here, happy to contribute, and I'm very excited.
I don't know why. For some
That was
reason,
cute.
I thought you sounded like Obama for a second.
Yeah, and yeah.
we are with the American people, and I just want
Yeah,
rights to help people. Just joking. Okay, first of all, I'll be Tony for today, and he'll be Anthony, so that there's no confusion.
That's perfect. Because last
What
time we
if I
called him
wanted to be
drunk.
Tony?
Wait,
How
you
come
were
you-
drunk Anthony last time, so let him be Tony, you be Anthony. Okay?
I mean, y'all should just fight it out, and whoever wins,
Mortal Kombat.
there you go. Just box it out.
Oh yeah, let me give you guys the YouTube link. So anybody that's in the chat right now, we will be in the chat in a little bit to converse with you guys. If you have any specific questions, leave them in the chat right now. We'll talk about it. So let's
talk to them in the chat room.
Yeah.
Those peasants.
Yeah, man.
I'm just joking.
Busy.
Oh Lord.
No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Wait.
Don't take that
I didn't mean it like that.
I didn't say that.
I ain't mean it like that. Hold on, time out. Hold on.
Yeah, I was like, Mo, you can't say
No, I'm
nothing,
just
man. You a blessed man, Mo.
I'm
Can't
just
say
joking.
nothing.
I am just joking.
I'm done
I
talking.
will gladly talk to the. I will gladly talk to the chat room if they choose to. Even if they cuss me out and be like, "Fuck you," and it's like, all right, that's fine.
Agni Khan.
But just a heads
I
up,
deserve
everybody here. We got like a couple other people that are gonna be coming in. I'll let them do their plug once we get in. But let's go ahead and break this down. Spoilers. So I think that where we should start is with the most notable Easter eggs or the things that we didn't expect coming into Spider-Man Homecoming. We already had like a group reaction. Everybody generally already had their reaction, so we can really talk about the things that surprised us. So does anybody want to bring up anything that was the most surprising thing for you guys? Is that Mo with his hands up?
I mean, I was about to kick it off before he put his hands up like we're in school. I mean, he could have just bulldog me like, no.
Just
because she wants to bring banners into this, don't make the guy a bad guy.
Okay, I'm gonna let Peter Parker Mo start it off.
Pepper Potts.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fucking Pepper Potts. Like, I mean, that is. First of all, I thought she was done with MCU movies. I thought she was done with the whole Marvel Cinematic Universe and that, and then that whole scene, and then the Iron Spider suit. Like, what?
Yeah.
It's sort of Iron Spider, but yeah, close enough.
Yeah, it's it's the concept, but yeah,
well,
that
costume looked a lot like the PS4 costume. Did y'all notice that the PS4 game?
Yeah,
I was like, it looks
kind
just
of
like it.
Me and D said it as much.
So it almost felt like a Sony design. Like, okay, Sony's like, let's plug the game real quick. But yeah, Pepper Potts and hold on, but Pepper Potts and the Iron Spider suit for me. That's it. Nothing else really felt Easter eggy.
Me and D said as much when we did our spoiler-free review of it and stuff, and the fact that like I was relieved that none of the rumors about this movie was true, and I'm talking like stuff like the amount of time Stark was going to be in it and stuff, and the stuff that Marvel likes doing. Like a lot of people thought that we were going to get the full-blown Shocker costume, which I understand that and stuff. And sometimes Marvel will sit there and pull back and kind of go in a different direction. So I was actually fine with them. Like, you know what? Let's hold back on Shocker until we get maybe a future movie with the Sinister Six or something like that. So I was fine with them. I was kind of fine, but there was like a very small part of me that was like, oh man, I kind of wanted the Shocker with the mask and stuff, but I wasn't like disappointed or anything. So I would say that was kind of like the surprise. I was like, oh, well, they didn't give us the Shocker, but I'm fine with what they were doing and stuff. I would probably also say Vulture. Just like they were going in, if anything, because they went with something that I was saying that they need to do with a lot of villains and keep them alive. So I was kind of shocked that, he's alive, and they kind of set him up as being future there. And also, they touched on Scorpion. That's another surprise I didn't see coming, because they never, when they were doing the casting and stuff, they never mentioned homeboy that was playing Matt Gargan.
Yeah.
And stuff. So that was kind of shocking to me and stuff. So it was just little things like that. And the damage control aspect, I didn't know how much of a big deal that was going to play into this film as well. So yeah, that was it for me.
Nah, I think that's one of the biggest things about this film is that they didn't shoehorn in, you know what I'm saying, like Easter eggs. Like they naturally progressed throughout the script. Like I was really surprised at the simple fact that they didn't kill Shocker. They didn't kill, the Vulture. They didn't I really legit, I was like, man, I'm going to go through this movie. They're going to kill him. And then that's it. And then they kept him alive. And I was like, finally Marvel is keeping, something that could be utilized. And I think that it works out because the progression of it, then you got Matt Gargan, and then you got all these other slew of characters in like.
Oh, the Tinkerer is still in play?
The Tinker is still, I don't even know where he went. Aaron.
No, he's still out there.
He's still in play.
He's still out there.
Got caught.
Because he could probably.
And they're not wasted reresources. Like Marvel's wasted their Ronin could have been used so much more. Could have been used so much more in other films. Even in the Marvel TV, Purple Man.
I hated that he killed him.
See, they might have killed him, but part of me feels they can pull some bullshit with the hand and revive his ass if they wanted to.
That's the shit that'll piss me off. But
But I mean, if you have a soulless, I know we're going on tangent, but just real quick, if you have a soulless Purple Man, that's even more dangerous than a Purple Man with a soul. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
If you really think about it.
Yeah.
That's if they choose to. But yeah, I see what you're saying. This is so when you have the Tinkerer in play, I felt that opens them up to like you can have the Tinkerer pop up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. just for a little cameo, like, oh. Because if you also think about it too, people didn't realize this. I saw a review where the guy was like, "What was the point of Spider-Man: Homecoming?" I'm like, "Did y'all forget the fact that like, literally was delivering weapons to everybody
Yeah.
up until
Yes.
Spider-Man fucked it up?" Like
And
that's
this
the
is
thing. It's
again-
like, yo, he literally was delivering weapons to damn near everybody. So yeah,
But
there was a purpose
What
when he
was
And
the,
this-
but what was the damage? No, seriously, what was
But no, this.
Oh, what are you saying?
what damage did those weapons cause?
But no, think about
Like-
this. There's high-tech weapons, not
Wait,
in Hydra's
what?
hands, in the general public hands.
Yeah,
And I thought about that when I came out the theater. It was like, yo, this is more like a comic book where, you know, random villains have this high-tech gravity gun, and they
Yeah.
just leapt forward what the audience can expect to see in other Marvel movies. And I've been thinking about this a lot, is that the tagline for the Christopher Reeve Superman was you have to make them believe a man can fly.
Yeah.
Marvel has slowly expanded the general populace consciousness of what they will accept. You know, with Doctor Strange, with these ray guns, with Guardians of the Galaxy. I was really smart in that part.
yeah.
Nah, I think that to answer Mo's question is that I think that the collateral damage that's imminent. I think Aaron Davis, that is the Prowler from Childish Gambino's character, is the catalyst for that question. Is like, okay, they're distributing this out everywhere. They're not the only black market group that's doing this. So that means that all these weapons are probably everywhere. And, you know, in
And
reality,
Diamondbacks were even.
only the Defenders, people like Spider-Man, are the only ones that are kind of noticing this because the Avengers have got all this other stuff at play. So it's like it's an unspoken kind of like danger that people don't know that's right around the corner kind of thing. And I mean, like, I think the guy's shop that got blown away, you know, things that happened at the monument, like, those are real threats.
Spider-Man's fault.
You know what I'm saying? But
Like,
I mean, even
the Prowler was a stick-up man. He was a stick-up man that was
Yeah.
going to give a ray gun to.
yeah,
Guys robbing the bank were basically just like,
Hi, Lucas.
oh
we know
shit,
you're
like,
here.
we got
Oh,
all
about to say what? Yeah, what did I miss?
We know you're
Brother
here. You don't gotta like you don't gotta like, keep trying to tour your glass. We know you're here.
Oh no, I'm just drinking.
Oh, okay, cool. Like all I hear is ice shaking.
It's alcohol. That's it.
Again, Lucas, cheers.
There you go, sir.
Oh, wait, we drinking?
Yes, we're drinking. Why wouldn't you drink? Y'all
Why do
made
you
me
think I
sit
left
through.
for like a second? Why do you think I left for a second during the introduction? I was like, let me get a beer real quick.
y'all are a
Yeah.
trip, man.
Y'all made me sit through a 2-hour Disney movie. Of course, I'm drinking. That's the way that normally happens.
This song right there, Disney.
Nah.
I mean, you
Look.
know, I've seen movies with Disney sensibilities, and I can point out them that are way more cheesy than what Spider-Man was doing.
No,
Trust
but
me, I can name them
I
all.
will tell you this though. What I know from the Spider-Man movie is that the Sony collaboration like kind of kept it from going all the way Marvel Disney. Like, let's respect that Sony had a hand in this because before I came on this, I saw Spider-Man 1 and 2. And I'm looking at those movies and I'm like, yeah, Sony did have as much as people want to think Sony had no hand in making this movie, they did. Because I truly believe if this was a full-on Kevin Feige Marvel movie, we'd be looking at a totally different Homecoming.
No, I think I disagree just on the simple fact that I know, like, at certain times, Marvel Disney will sit there and get, like, carried away a bit and stuff, and they will go full tilt into, well, I'm just being nice about it, but, like, they'll go full tilt on something instead of just going back to the comic book sensibility. So when I look at this, it's like, okay, they looked at Amazing Spider-Man 2, and that was all Sony. All Sony on that one, and that was a clusterfuck. As much as I
and Spider-Man 3 was a clusterfuck, and that was also all Sony. But
But I look at Amazing Spider-Man 2
collaboration, like the whole Marvel and Sony coming together, like, you know, they kind of have they balance each other because if Sony did this movie by themselves, you know, just with putting Spider-Man in the MCU, we'd be looking at a different movie. I feel like we looked at a movie that felt like a collaboration where some aspects of it felt Sony and some aspects of it felt Marvel.
What aspects?
Yeah, I mean that was
What aspects
that
felt
was legit MCU.
Sony?
Sony. What felt Sony to you?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, I was about to interject a little bit there. It
You
would be
go first.
it would be more of the villain. Like Marvel has been known to make their villains a little more cartoonish.
Yeah.
Than Michael Keaton played Vulture in this movie. He played it kind of like a poor man's Dr. Ock. Not as good, not close to being as good, but the tone of his villain felt that way.
Yeah.
Like in most of the like debut movies for Marvel, whether it be Iron Man 1 or Cap 1 or Thor 1, all the villains were kind of cartoonish. They couldn't even.
Did you see the concept art for the Vulture for Spider-Man 4?
No.
I mean, you can throw it up if you have it.
You saw my blank face when you said concept art because I'm trying not to cuss while I've been drinking. But because I mean, I understand it can be a wild costume.
Yeah.
Dr. Ock was kind of a wild costume, but the way that character was formed was dead on serious.
Yeah. Like
there was no joy in that character. And Michael Keaton attempted to do this with Vulture, but again, he played Vulture like he played Batman, or like he played in Multiplicity, or like he played in The Founder. It's like
and Gung Ho. That's what he brought to this. It was less Batman and Birdman. It was more of those characters to me.
But okay, so like he said, the tone of Vulture's tone didn't feel like he was relatable in terms of his villainy, why he was doing what he was doing. He didn't want to take over New York. He didn't want to take over anything. He really just he just wanted to provide for his family. And
exactly. He was kind of like a Walter White type character or a Tony Soprano, where it was just family first before this one-dimensional villain, which I agree with. I feel like his track record is horrible villain, and let's let the hero stand out, which is fine, for what they're trying to do. But like when you watch Doctor Strange and that epic moment when he finally has his cape and his costume, and then the stupid freaking robe, like like that, stupid stuff like that. It didn't have any of those elements in this movie. One of my favorite scenes in this movie is when Peter's under the rubble, crying, and you see in his face no one is coming for him. And he embraces that darkness, and he lifts himself, and he goes out, becomes Spider. He feels like he doesn't need the suit, which is something that we haven't seen it from Marvel. So I agree to an extent with Crosby that if it was a collaboration effort, then that's great.
I don't agree. I don't agree. I can't say that's Sony, because if we look at Sony's track record, we can go Doc Ock, but I didn't get the same feeling from their other villains.
You didn't get it. You didn't get it from Willem Dafoe, because technically that's all Vulture is.
Yeah,
it's Green Goblin to the T.
This is what I would say. This is what I would say is, and I'm going to comic books, so I know Luke is going to tune out a little bit.
Oh, completely. I'm not even listening right now.
What I liked about Marvel was that I could always relate to their villains' motivations. The Marvel comics, you related to Magneto. You might not agree with Magneto, or you might agree with Magneto's philosophy, but not his methods. Or Kane or any of the Marvel villains. They weren't just there to most of them weren't just there to be evil. I got that Marvel comic book character villain in this movie. I can't without any proof just say, oh, that was Sony's part of it. I don't believe that. A lot of it was
Okay, so
let me break this down. Let me break this down real quick, because it's gonna go past my head if I don't. You just said from the Marvel comic perspective on how these villains are played, but you cannot name me a villain in any of the movies that's been played that way, because none of them have been.
They've done. They've done Loki in the movies.
But
they've done some of the TVs. They've done 2 TV.
You're 13 movies in, I think, at this point, right?
14.
And you can name 14, and you can name one villain that's close to the comic books. When Sony has been, whether they mess up on a lot of other things, which they only messed up on 2 out of the 5 movies, which is about Iron Man's track record for Marvel. But their villains have kind of been the same. They play them almost the same.
Yeah.
Sony plays up their villains more than they play up the hero, because they went to the Warner Brothers Batman theory, which is a more interesting villain is better than a great hero.
Definitely. And again, so going back to Vulture's motivations, you like at a point, I even started looking at the Vulture like, damn, like I even feel bad for him. Like I kind of almost wanted him to win. I like my villains. I like villains, to be honest. I'm not even gonna lie to you. But his motivations, like if we were all in a position that he was in, how many of us would take the road that he, would say, you know what, let me return those. If you were in that exact position, you overextended yourself. Your family might be on the streets. These men that have believed in you, like, so you're telling me, like, I mean, then again, you're better than myself, because I'm not gonna say most of it. You're better than me because I'll sit down here and I.
Oh no. I mean, I'll let him go.
I mean, well, hold on. Let's do this.
Right, I'm sorry. You know what?
Because we're going on a certain straight path. One of the biggest discussions that somebody said was that they pulled something from each other. Marvel and Sony, they really did truly collaborate with this in the sense of exchanging characters, figuring out what works and what didn't work. Because I feel like Marvel looked at like, oh, okay, y'all did not do this right. But this moment is key. Like when Mo was talking to me about that one scene, when Peter was literally having a panic attack and knowing for a fact that nobody was going to come, you know what I'm saying? Like that desperation on his, on his embodiment. Like I was like, this is perfect because this is what a real true hero is all about. Like when I was looking at My Hero Academia, like something similar happened in the first season. And I was like, this is why I love Spider-Man. That same exact drive, the knowing that, okay, I have to be this so that I can make it through. Something similar happened with Tobey Maguire in the first movie, legit, with him and William Dafoe. He beat the tar out of him. Not only did he like come and like ambush Aunt May, he took Mary Jane. Then he decided to beat the tar out of him. And he was sitting there in desperation. He was like, I'm about to kill you. And then he's like, I'm going to kill Mary Jane. I'm going to make it slow. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was sitting there like, this is what a real villain is supposed to do. And to Sony's credit, they got that right. That symmetry of that character they got right with him, and they got it right with Dr. Octopus. And for this movie, this is their third, if not their best, attempt at having a really well fleshed out character. Because with William Dafoe's character, I understood his whole motivation. There was no like ifs, ands, or buts about it. Even like Doc Ock, I was like, I understand. Like you've lost it to an edge, but I understand and I can relate to what you're doing. And with Michael Keaton, that is why for me he's one of the favorite villains of the Marvel Cinematic Universe right now, second to Loki. And
he's my favorite. He's my favorite right now.
What I'm saying is that took Sony and Marvel playing on each other. It wasn't just like Marvel's like, okay, we know how to do this. Sony like invented and made, with Sam Raimi, one of the best, comic book heroes, and brought them to life. And so I have to say that to their credit, they worked together very well. Just like all these Easter eggs and all these characters, they could have held back on Scorpion. They could have held back on all these other characters and just kept it simple, like to a low tier, villain and not use them. But instead they played to each other's strengths. And I'm really surprised that they're setting up kind of a Sinister Six in so many different ways. They've got Matt Gargan, they've got now Vulture, they got Shocker, and then on top of that, they could easily bring in Mysterio, and they could bring in anybody else at this point. And at the same time, I know Sony's doing their own thing. I'm kind of worried about that, but I'm not so much because they've given me some really good fleshed out villains just in this one movie, and it didn't feel shoehorned like Amazing Spider-Man 2 or shoehorned like Spider-Man 3. So, I mean, I think that was one of the biggest things for them working together about it. But anybody else have any really big, like, spoiler things? I know, who was it that brought up MJ? Who said that?
Hey, me and D brought up MJ. Yes.
Okay.
I brought up MJ 30 minutes into the movie. The moment they saw,
that pissed me off.
Wait. Before we go this, I'm going to just say personally, I appreciated and really liked Michelle's personality. I actually enjoyed her snippiness and her one-liners. I thought it was hilarious. Personally,
I love the character,
and I think that for them to hire somebody that's an actress, a model, you know, and all these different things that basically Mary Jane Watson is, but then take her character and totally spin it a different way. I think that's smart because it's not something we have to regurgitate all over again. Now, is it comic book Mary Jane? No, it's not. So don't sit there and believe that, everybody. But I'm curious as to what was your take on Michelle or MJ and the reveal of MJ, so to speak. Everybody knew that was going to happen, but
yeah, everybody kind of knew that was going to happen, and it wasn't good. It wasn't good at all. I mean, I'm even giving you the stretch of calling her an actress. I understand she's a model. Wow. She may do something else, but that Zach and Cody like character base that they made her play in this movie was highly unnecessary. It made no sense. It didn't play well at all. This is part of the reason I had an issue with this movie, because one thing I can say, and again, I'm not a person that likes giving Sony credit because they messed up other films. I don't mind the Spider-Man stuff, but they messed up a lot of other films for me. But they always got the chemistry right between Peter and the future love interest and the love interest. They always got that right. In this film, there is no chemistry between any of them. It is absolutely horrible. And when you get all the way to the end, which I told, hold up, Anthony, as I told Anthony 40 minutes into the movie that she was MJ, and he looked at me and said, nah, they wouldn't do that. I
didn't say no. I said yes.
No, you didn't. Not at first. You did not say yes.
I did. You were drunk.
I was drunk, but I wasn't that drunk. But it was the basic Marvel reveal. Let's show you this character. We're not going to tell you who they are all the way to the end, and surprise, and they're thinking people will be shocked by it. It just wasn't good.
Well, because the average person was shocked.
No, they weren't.
I saw it again last night. I saw it again last night, and the audience I was with went crazy at two parts. One, when they realized and I was surprised that Miles Morales, like a lot of people in the theater was like, "Oh my gosh, that's his uncle!" Like, and they went crazy at the MJ reveal. I was really shocked. It was people that I mean, looking and hearing the conversation, that they knew that character. They were really surprised by that. I think we weren't because we're into that medium and we have our ear to the ground for these things.
Yeah,
I liked her the second time because you notice how she's following him around at detention and things
exactly.
like that. And that she's more proactive and seeing something about him. I love when he walked into the dance and she was like, "Hey," and then gave him the middle finger.
Yeah.
I mean,
what pissed me off? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to cut you off, but I'm not trying to cut you off. Let me just finish this one part. What pissed me off though was I didn't hear her name through the whole movie, and then they were like, "Oh, Michelle," and she was like, "Oh, my friends call me MJ." What's the point of changing her name if we didn't hear her?
Exactly. What friends? She had no friends. She had no friends.
No. Wait. I'm sorry, Anthony. I'm sorry, Anthony.
They changed her name for no reason then, or they didn't really mean for it to be MJ, and they tacked it on at some point. Like that's the only thing that pissed me off about the character.
A black woman couldn't be named Mary Jane.
To you is what friends? Michelle James Roberts, like I mean, MJ, like.
I mean, I think the reality of her character is that we can all agree to this. Her character will not flesh out until the next few movies. They set her up as a person that literally gets around everywhere, is at every party, but just happens to follow around, Peter Parker and Ned. Why? Who knows? Who cares? She just like in high school.
She's a stalker.
No. I mean, I'm just saying that just like in high school, characters progress. You know what I'm saying? And I think that her character is going to have this shift of popularity, especially with Liz Allen kind of leaving and dipping. And I think that they did something similar like that in one other. Was it Spectacular Spider-Man or something like that, where kind of like Peter just like he didn't want to be around her kind of thing. I don't remember which one it was, but either way, I think her character is not going to be
spectacular.
Yeah, it was Spectacular where he didn't want to be. Yeah, you're right.
She's not going to be developed as the Mary Jane character.
She wasn't trying to be pretty. She wasn't trying to be stereotypical pretty. But you see her outside of that role. Like I think they planted a lot of seeds.
Oh, what up, Big Go?
What up?
Yeah. You said trying to be pretty. How could she not be pretty? Like, come on, dude.
No,
Like,
what I mean
she's
is
not
she
a
wasn't
typical
trying
high
to.
school girl.
I mean, she definitely did not look how she normally looks. They did. They try to make her look as unattractive.
What I'm
as
saying
possible.
is that Liz was the popular girl, and they crafted her look to be the pretty popular girl. They crafted Mary
Jane. It's fine. You can't say her first name. It's fine. It's okay.
Michelle Jane. I'm gonna stop calling her Michelle Jane, like for real.
But in all, let me just say this. Let me just say this one part, and I'm gonna leave this whole discussion about this horrible character alone. They pandered to black people by changing her name and making her woke. Because why the hell is she saying, well, I'm not going to go in a building that slaves built? Oh, really? Okay, so that's the angle we're going to. We're going to pander to these young black folks and give them this woke character that makes them feel better about themselves as they go see Spider-Man. Come on, dude. You won't trick me.
No, I mean,
You didn't hear the part about her saying that I'm not going into the building with slaves? They played her like the typical angry black teenager. It's to the T. All you gotta do, watching any of these teenage black films, and she plays that character to the T in this movie.
This is a typical emo type of girl.
I was gonna say emo girl, definitely. I don't know about.
She wasn't emo. There was nothing emo.
Daria.
Yeah, it was.
She
I mean,
definitely
she was
was
an
very
outcast, and she was objected to anything popular. She was just like, no, I don't do that.
She made herself the
I'm not going
outcast,
in.
and then they try to make her super smart. Did you see the book she was reading?
Yes.
Now that book is truly.
Like, what was yo?
She could be on Dear White People, and it would be perfectly fine.
I think one of them was Socrates or something. I was like, get out of here, man. Like, in high school, I don't care how outside or how loner you are, you're not reading that stuff, or at least you're not. Nah,
unless you're in the 11th grade trying to get to the 12th, I think everybody had a point where they had to do that.
So you're willingly picking that stuff up and read? No, you said unless you are trying to.
I did have to read Othello, but I don't recall me liking it.
Exactly.
I mean, I
love philosophy, so I can't say much of nothing. So I'm just gonna let you go.
I'm not gonna go on it, but I'm just saying, like, nah.
I was about to call you out on that, Lucas. If you agree with that, I was gonna call you out.
Agreed on what? Hey, all I said is she reminded me of characters I see on Dear White People. To the T. There was no difference.
Anyway, I guess we should move off.
Please.
From Mary Jane, because
like some booty. It's okay. He likes
calling her Mary Jane. That's Michelle B.
I mean,
that's Michelle B.
Look, we're gonna leave this alone. I thought we was gonna have some time to be able to talk about what her character is gonna be later, but obviously too many of y'all too triggered. And y'all allowing like an emotional kind of perspective on the character.
Let's just have one shot. Let's let everyone just have one shot and talk about what they think a character is going to be.
Because I don't think Anthony talked about it. I don't think Big Belt talked about it. It's really been Anthony, Lucas, and Mo.
I think this real quick because I don't want to interrupt you guys. I just want to say this real quick. I think it's a little bit too soon to be judging.
Yeah.
Michelle, I liked her as Michelle. That's who she is. If she's called MJ, maybe I don't think their approach is her being the definitive. Like, this is like part 1, chapter 1, and then because remember Peter Parker is a sophomore. Remember, yes, but there's gonna be times and years progressing throughout these movies for him and the other characters to develop. Too soon for people to like kind of not feel like there's no chemistry there because look, the way she approached him, the way she was treating him, if a girl treats you like crap, most likely she has a crush on you, and some people show we all.
I don't date a girl that's giving me the middle finger at least twice.
If you've ever been at those kind of parties. Wow, for real. Honestly.
I mean, oh my gosh. Wait, Mo.
Yeah, let him finish.
But
I think he was coming up with a good thought right there of the character. So go ahead. That was interesting.
No, but look, I agree with you guys too. Zendaya is not like my favorite actress. I know she was supposed to be Aaliyah, and then she like dropped out or something like that. But I feel like she was I feel like the reveal of her being MJ was a little bit forced because I feel like it wasn't earned. We still had to wait a couple more movies because honestly, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I feel like this actually could benefit more like some kind of like Netflix TV show. I know Marvel doesn't have like they don't want to waste the budget like that because this reminded me of like those stories like Daredevil and Jessica Jones, how in their storylines were so personal and it wasn't like this big epic scope. Bro, no, it was just Peter's protecting Queens, and the defending Hell's Kitchen. I feel like it would benefit more, like kind of like like Harry Potter, where we have all these movies to develop these characters more. And remember, this is just the first movie. I know we as fans can get a little bit more. We want more. This is not right. I feel like it's a little bit too soon to judge some of these things at a certain point. But that's just my take, But
yeah,
you are. I think you're right.
And Big Belt, what was your thought?
We were leaving.
I think he pulls a great point, and I think this is one of the things a lot of us do in anything that we fantasy book is one of those where we should just let it play out. But since you're asking for predictions here, I think she's going to be the character to him that gets him a little bit more focused and sort of say the more, I'm not going to say traditional, but more or less the Spider-Man that we have been used to in the last two films, where he's taking less chances and puts on a better balance of life between being a superhero, being a high school student, and his relationship life. So it's like, it's that weird person that comes into your life that, puts things into perspective to you. And I think she's going to be that character moving forward.
Yeah. And I could see that. And I think when me and Anthony and somebody else, I think it was Keaton, we were talking about her character. And it was like one of us had said, like, she's like Helga G. Pataki in the way that she interacts with Peter. Like, she's his Helga. Like, he don't have no interest in her, but she's got this weird, like, kind of wittiness about her and her character. And I think that, like you said, Anthony, that we just got to kind of wait and see what they do with her. But I know that a lot of people are legit triggered from the simple fact that they named out her as MJ. But if they would have waited and name dropped her MJ later, I think I'd have been a little bit more pissed about that. So I'm glad they just got that out of the way so we can kind of move on no matter what. If she fails, she fails.
Yeah.
But if she works, then at least we have a progression of a character. But yeah, hey, I'm sorry that I didn't get to let you plug, bro. Big Gold Belt, do you want to plug your channel and what you're doing?
What's going on, everybody? So it's 2 Chainz of the Big Gold Belt Wrestling Podcast. You can check us out at Big Gold Belt and on Twitter at BGB Group. Weekly episodes every Thursdays at 8 o'clock, covering all wrestling and other social topics.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you for coming out, man. I got a couple other people that are still coming, man. But so I guess,
can I say one thing?
Is it about the show? Is it about?
Yes, it is. But it's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing. Because I understood the point made about the way you want to build a character, which happens over the course of a film. My fear is they're not going to get enough films to build the character out that way. Like when my man brought up Harry Potter, like that took Hermione, for example, that took a good 5 to 6 films to build her out. That's not going to happen. Like right now, for them to say that Homecoming is going to pick up after Avengers 4. So that means the sequel Homecoming is about 3.5 to 4 years away. So if you keep that
2019.
So you keep it couldn't be 2019 unless they're doing 2 Avengers films back-to-back years, which I don't foresee them doing it exactly that way.
I thought they were shooting them back-to-back, but I can't remember.
Remember, though, he split it up. At first, the goal was for it to be back-to-back, called Infinity Force Part 1, Infinity Wars Part 2, but then he said, no, these are going to be 2 completely different standalone films instead of being a carry-on like the Deadly Hallows or the Hunger Game films. So when you extend that out, if Peter's supposed to be 15 then, so I'm guessing we're going to pick up at Peter at 18. So are we picking him up graduating as a senior, going into college? Because if we actually do that, we're not going to see a natural progression of their relationship.
Well, they said, they confirmed that the next movie is going to pick up in his junior year. They said they're going to try to do junior year for 2, and then the third movie is supposed to be senior year. Now, he's going to look old as mess But I think that's what they said, that they've confirmed that they're going to try.
Because and that's what I mean though. But the issue was when you also come out and say, by the way, we're not picking up a Homecoming sequel until the end of Avengers 4 because Avenger 4 cuts off all the rest of these films, and the Homecoming sequel is supposed to kick in the new arc of films. If you're going to do that, and you're expecting us to think that all of this happened in 6 months, so you're going to give us 5 films that happened in 6 months. That makes, I'm sorry, not 5, 3 films, 3 to 4 films that happened in 6 months. That makes literally no sense.
Yeah.
At that point, you're forcing a timeline together. So you're telling me before we get to see Spider-Man again, he should be in 2 Infinity War films. We should get a Thor film, and we should get, I think it's another film, the Ant-Man and Wasp film. Before we get another Spider-Man.
Well,
Lucas,
no.
My thing is,
literally take place right now.
But listen, what I'm saying though. I'm not even talking about necessarily the film timeline as much as the audience timeline. So we're going from a 22-year-old man who's playing a sophomore to a 26-year-old man playing a junior.
I thought he was 19.
Dude.
He is.
No, Tom Holland is 22 years old. Why don't you look that up? Yes, he is. He's 22 now.
I thought it was 19.
How old were the other?
I'm about to fact check this.
But
he is 21.
Always keep in mind though, the other Spider-Mans only played 1 year of high school. So again, my issue is only about the natural progression of their relationship. It has nothing to do with anything else. The natural progression. They didn't set up. Hold up, because I need to finish it. The natural progression of their relationship. They didn't lay the proper groundwork for it. And I'm not talking about with comic books because I know comic books can be different. I'm talking about strictly in the film world. The natural progression of their relationship is not set up properly. So what you're going to have to do is waste another entire film to set up them as a couple before you can even get to the point of them doing anything else. And unfortunately, Marvel had Spider-Man for 3 films. That's their deal with Sony. 3. Technically,
they're going to extend the contract.
All right.
But even if they extend the contract, you already have Sony coming out and saying Spider-Man is going to be a part of their film. So once you get to that, hold up though. But once you get to that progression of everything, my fear is that relationship cannot build properly. Are we going to take an entire film for them to get together?
No, I don't think it's going to take that because look at Tony Stark. Pepper Potts has broken up with him and gotten back together through other people's films.
Oh man, that was a bad example.
That's
a horrible example.
Don't do that.
What they did to Pepper in Avengers 2 pissed me off.
Iron Man 3 was terrible.
Not even that. Like I'm talking about Age of Ultron. Like she wasn't even.
Age of Ultron was just.
They didn't explain what happened to her. But I'm not gonna get triggered right now. I'm gonna leave it alone.
They didn't explain the Age of Ultron. They did explain the Thor Natalie Portman thing a little bit. But in Civil War, he talked about why she wasn't there. She was back. So my point isn't.
Can we talk? Can we say this? Okay, go ahead.
My is that they've been sprinkling Tony Stark's storyline through other people's movies.
But that's Tony Stark.
Spider-Man's going to show back. Lucas,
if you're going to pay him all the most money, you might as well.
He's going to show up in other films. To me, they laid the groundwork. For her interest in him. She has an intense interest in him. And when she said, "I'm not stalking him, I'm just observant," that was telling us that she's really into this character. She's really into him as a character. And if you look at the Spider-Man relationship timeline, Mary Jane isn't his first or second love. She's way down the line.
Yeah,
it's okay.
But you're bringing in the comic book portion of it.
Later.
No, but you're bringing in the comic book portion.
Hold on. What someone else talked about was how this would make a better series. And again, I agree with that because, again, these stories took place over years. And we try to cram them into a movie. That's the reason why Venom is not going to work, in my opinion. You're not going to make a good Venom film by cramming that into one film.
Yeah,
so,
I disagree with you. I think Venom is going to work.
Lord,
I don't. Because to me, unless they start early with Infinity War, like
y'all are so triggered, bro.
Infinity Wars,
man.
If they show the Infinity Wars, I'll be great with that. But if you just do all of Venom in one movie, I don't think it's going to work because you're going to miss.
See, but again, I think this is the problem, and this is the main issue with these films with people who read the comic books. Take it out the medium of a comic book. You're not going to get the reason why everything seems flushed out on the next Netflix series because it's 13 hours. If you give me 13 hours, I can explain anything to you. You cannot think someone is going to want to explain Spider-Man for 13 hours. Spider-Man, the series is a $4 billion series. You don't need that to explain it. So what you have to do is take those 2 to 2.5 hours you have, flesh out the characters as well as you can to attempt to make a film that makes sense as it goes from movie to movie to movie. Studios fail doing that all the time. But my issue is simple. It's going to take an entire movie to explain this character. And if you did decide to do that, and again, even going back to the point that Sony has said, 4 to 5 is it for them with Marvel with this deal. And that includes his appearances in anything non-Spider-Man related.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So now you're thinking they're going to extend it out. That's just not going to happen.
Okay. Let's stop for a second, just because all this is very muddy. Like money talks. Money talks more than anything.
Always.
Right now, they got a winner on their hands. Yes, Sony could go and be like, "Oh, I'm taking my dude back," but the reality is, they made this baby. You know what I'm saying? You know, they can go and fight for custody, or they can like, all right, let's put this baby in reform school. Let's go and use what we can to get him moving. And the reality of it is, in the next 5 years, they could easily make Tom Holland Spider-Man the new Tony Stark for the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Not gonna happen.
I'm not saying that they're gonna do that, but I'm saying that there is a strong possibility of this because that's right now. Well, I guess I'll ask this question. Based on Tom Holland's performance, based on this Spider-Man that we have, do you think that moving forward, his performance was merited enough to have him in the front line, being the next generation? Because they got Miss Marvel coming.
Yes.
They got Captain Marvel coming.
Yes.
They've got other heroes that are coming on the rise. Of course, they got Black Panther.
I'm about to say. So are we just going to disregard them already saying that Black Panther is the person who's leading them to the next arc of their stories?
I mean, but that's the thing. They put Black Panther and Spider-Man in Civil War. Those were their staples.
Black Panther,
They
Miss
used Spider-Man and
Marvel,
Black Panther.
or Captain Marvel.
But remember, though, Marvel has come out and said Black Panther is leading them into the next arch of their stories.
Yeah.
They have not. That's not going to change for them. That's who they already see. And as you know, the way they produce films, they think 5 years out. So he's already pictured and already possibly has written for Black Panther to be the guy who's going to lead them. It's clearly not going to be Spider-Man because to me, you can't. No, just because they were in a movie together does not mean he did not already say who's going to lead them out, because you can't let Spider-Man lead them out because Sony at any time can come back and say, nah, we're fine. You relaunched our series. We're going to take him back. And there's nothing they can do about that. That would be, again, money talks in a business. That would be a horrible business decision to attempt to make someone who you have no control over the lead for your universe.
Well said.
But he could be a part of the Trinity.
That's actually really
and also,
well
Spider-Man Homecoming 2 is 2019. I just looked it up. It's 2019.
But you know what? Just like Sam and Lucas now say, money talk. So when you talk about the person that's going to lead the actor or actress who's going to lead into the next storyline, or who's going to be the pivotal face of Marvel moving forward, it's going to be the person they pay the most. And it has to be somebody that can do all the due diligence, not only just on the screen, but promotional tours and all the other good stuff, and also have accommodating other movies too that also brings the uncasual fans to see it. So Robert Downey Jr. was absolutely the face for it, and Chris Evans has happened to come at the wrong time. But that leaves what's his name? Chadwick
Boseman?
Chris Pratt.
Oh.
Chadwick Boseman is everything he's done, totally a fan of, but I still feel like he's not getting the respect he needs. So I feel like them saying he's going to be the person moving forward is the right thing to say, but I still feel like he needs something else outside of a superhero film to really put him on that next level, to actually say it and mean it and have the financial backing behind it.
What do you think about Brie Larson?
Brie Larson has the movie behind it.
Exactly.
She does. Room was killer. Room did it for her.
King Kong did too.
Yeah, and King Kong. But the character she is, is in jeopardy to me. I mean, we talked about it before on one of Sam's shows, and will Captain Marvel be able to bring in the amount of money that they think it should? Will it be able to compete with something such as Wonder Woman being a woman main character for something? I'm not gonna say something, but maybe sort of less a story nobody's never heard of, a character we may have never heard of. Can she do it?
It's a Marvel.
Yeah, it's a Marvel film.
That's all I gotta say. It's a Marvel movie. At the end of the day, we're gonna look at. I don't care much for Captain Marvel comic book side, and I don't really care much for who's playing her in live action side. It's a Marvel movie. We're gonna like it.
We're gonna see it.
They're gonna make you like it. You're gonna see it. So, like, we can speculate on how well it'll do. I mean, the only wild card was Wonder Woman, and the reason it was a wild card was because the DCEU track record, not necessarily because I'm not even gonna say Wonder Woman was the wild card because people didn't like, people don't, we don't know what Wonder Woman is, we don't know the story. We've known Wonder Woman, we've known all her stories. She was a wild card because DCEU track record. We're looking at Captain Marvel, which a lot of people don't care for her comic books. A lot of people don't care for her in the comics, but it's when you see that Marvel logo, Marvel Studios logo on the screen, that's gonna your brain is probably gonna shut off at that point. You're gonna be looking at a Marvel Cinematic Universe.
You know that same logo comes on in front of Fantastic Four too, right?
No. It's different.
Same logo
No.
in front of
It's different.
People who don't pay attention, no, that's not what I'm saying.
No. It's different because there's the Marvel logo and then there's the Marvel Studios logo.
Yeah, but Joe Blow doesn't know that. Joe Blow think it's all one universe.
Nah, I think at that point, people are naive.
Everyone knows who. At this point in 2017, everyone knows who's who. We know if it's
But I do.
I'm giving people too much credit.
Yes, you are. I think of one thing in particular though, because we always you brought up, especially with Brie Larson of Captain Marvel. A person like me, I don't read comic books. This is not something I really care about. I want to see that movie because that is someone who I believe is a great actress who's going to be playing this role. And you're going to get people in there who are going to look at it that way. This is an Oscar winner.
Yep.
Playing the role of a superhero. So you're going to get that casual person who may never watch a superhero film, who's going to see it for that reason, and because it's going to be the second film with a female lead superhero. Because that's what brought Wonder Woman the credit and the box office it has. It's because it brought out women. So if you put an Oscar winner in it and it's a woman lead, you're going to get people who are never going to see a comic book film that's going to go see this.
If we're going to talk about it that way, Patty Jenkins directed an Oscar movie, and still nobody gave that movie. A lot of people didn't give Wonder Woman the faith it deserved. So,
because of the DC universe,
why did it deserve faith?
You can't blame that. Because it wasn't that they didn't give it because Patty was a bad director. They didn't give it because of Warner Brothers' track record with films.
Can we talk about the respective universes then? Because
again, had nothing to show that she could lead a movie, that she could helm a movie.
Are you kidding?
Are you kidding?
Did you see BVS? Did you hear what people said about BVS? Did you hear? Oh my God, Wonder Woman this, Wonder Woman. Why are we talking about Wonder Woman and Spider-Man?
Why are y'all ninjas so triggered? Dang, calm down.
I'm sorry. I just had to realize that
I had to take my headphones off because I'm getting yelled at.
I get triggered by people who bring up certain actors and actresses because that's something I pay more attention to. Again, I'm not a comic book guy, so I'm always going to pay attention to more of the people in the film. So that's why I'm saying I have faith in Captain Marvel only because Brie Larson has yet to do a good. No, I have no faith in Marvel, but I have all the faith that Brie Larson has yet to do a bad movie.
Okay, all right.
But that's
point of the matter.
Majority of the
point of the matter is we brought up the fact that who was going to be the main actor moving Marvel into
I say Chadwick.
Their next. So that's how we got this.
Chadwick.
That's the question.
And Tom Holland's not going to be that guy.
No, it's not Tom Holland.
No, not Tom Holland.
So if hypothetically speaking, say Robert Downey Jr.'s character does die in the second Infinity Wars, or a major character like not even the first one, maybe the second one, like somebody major that's one of the big three dies.
Chris Evans.
I mean, it could be either one, to be quite honest with you, or it could be both. But I'm just saying that who is the new face, like in y'all's personal opinion?
I have to be honest. I don't think
Chris Pratt.
I don't think it should be. I don't think it should be. I don't think it should be anybody. I think it should be who the character is. Whoever Captain America is, that's who be leading Marvel. Period. There's no way around that. You kill off one of your if you kill off one of your poster boys, that's going to be hard enough. So it's only going to be one of them. I don't think it's going to be more than two of them. Like, oh, Captain America goes, then Iron Man goes. That's impossible. That's not going to happen. But if anybody's going to lead it, get used to seeing Chris Evans.
No,
I'm just going to be honest. Get used to seeing him.
Evans.
I know we all think it should be a change up and this, that, or the other, but I know how fucking lazy Hollywood gets.
Well, so we can't kill the face of America.
Oh yeah, I know. I know.
Of how America is now.
I understand it, guys. And I understand that too. And I understand it. It's Marvel. Marvel can't do no wrong. But Marvel can still fall to the same BS that Hollywood always falls to. So get used to it. It's going to be either Robert Downey Jr. or Chris. I'm being honest. I would love to see it be Chris Pratt, but it won't be.
Hey, let me say this real quick, and then I'm not going to say anything else on this topic. Chris Evans makes maybe $6 to $8 million to do Captain America. Chris Pratt is going to cost them $20 to $40 million to do anything moving forward. That's the guy who's going to lead the universe.
I'll say this
because he's the star of a film that's bigger than anything they've released, and that comes out next year. Chris Pratt is the guy who's going to lead them forward.
I mean,
money talks. Money talks.
I'll say this.
Based on a character no one knew anything about, that no one cared about, that no one knew anything about before these movies.
Chris, you got something?
Exactly.
Exactly.
DJ, you got something?
Yeah, I mentioned a couple things because I know I missed out on that to take care of some fucking landlord shit. But so going to Crosby's point, I don't know if it's Crosby or whoever that mentioned the whole thing of you can do Venom without Spider-Man. I put the article up on the page and stuff, and it's still true. Sony basically put themselves in a box at this point because like I said, we saw the Sony emails and Sony was fucked, and they have to appease their shareholders, so they was like, all right, let's make this deal with Marvel.
That's right, take that deal.
And it was a smart deal because hey, you got to make money because here's the thing too, they fucked themselves when they gave that licensing shit back to Marvel Disney. And they didn't think much of it because if you really think about it like this, your licensing money that you get off the merchandise, it makes up for whatever that you pushed in terms of the promotion budget. It makes up for it because you're going to make your money back off the promotion and all that stuff anyway from the merchandising and stuff. Especially if you look back at the Sam Raimi Spider-Mans, them toys fucking sold like gangbusters, and Sony was making hand over fist. For Spider-Man 1 through 3, they were making hand over fist money. So the problem is when Marvel Disney came in and was like, well, we'll take those merchandising rights back. Sony's like, whatever, we don't care for it because we're making money with that. And it's like, yeah, guys, you kind of fucked.
I thought it was because they were broke.
No, it's because around that time.
I think it's because Sony. I think Sony is just like WB. It's full of.
Oh, go ahead.
They were down a quarter. They report to shareholders. They needed to boost that profit. So they did that deal.
So with them trying to do Venom, could you do a Venom? Like, look, realistically, could you do a Venom movie without Spider-Man? Sure. Could you do an Eddie Brock Venom movie without Spider-Man? No, you can't. Flash Thompson? Sure. Eddie Brock? Hell no.
Clearly Flash Thompson because he's Indian now.
Yeah, but there's not at all. They are not going to do it.
Lucas did not like the social bullying. Lucas was pissed off through that whole movie.
Lucas wanted.
I like my old school bullies that beat up nerds. That's what I like. I don't like social bullies.
But they definitely don't look jacked. Like they did not go to the school. Like he looked like a regular dude. You got to respect that.
I'd have whooped his ass in high school, Joe. Are you serious?
That's the thing. You also have to realize we are in a new era. We are in a new era of bullies. Back
Dude,
when
I
we were in
don't give
high
a
school-
look, Chris.
No,
I don't give a crap. My
So
son will
social
fuck him up,
media-
man.
Exactly.
But that's the thing.
New school of bullies. Shut up, man. You better stop giving. You better stop pussifying the generation below us, nigga. Come on.
I am not pussifying them because I am doing facts here. When all of us sat there in high school, if you look at Spider-Man 1, those are the fucking bullies that we had. People that will sit there and just fucking punch you without asking questions. Those are the fucking bullies that we had. They were dicks, but that's what we had.
I didn't have bullies, but okay.
As the dude that got 2 kids that went to a ghetto as fuck school, nothing's changed.
Nothing has changed.
Question. Can I ask a question real quick?
Damn things changed.
Can I ask you a question real quick? I want to ask a Spider-Man Homecoming related question. How did y'all feel that we didn't have a J. Jonah Jameson type character in this movie?
I didn't need
This is the worst movie ever. That's why.
He wouldn't have fit. There was nothing about that to fit him in there.
He's not got his first job yet. There's no point.
Son, if he was in there would have been so many problems. If he was like,
it'd be something in the future.
Yeah, it'd be
if
like
he was like in the post credits, I would have been pissed. I'm being honest. If he was in the post credits, I'm like, yo, why?
It would have been Amazing Spider-Man 2 because me and D had talked about Amazing Spider-Man 2, and it's like I don't hate it like a lot of people did, which I think was bullshit at that time. I think people were just doing it because, oh shit, the internet says they hate this movie. Let's go hard on it. And it's like, y'all guys are idiots.
It was pretty bad.
Oh no, but you're not. If you look at Twitter, I'm looking at Black Twitter a little bit and Twitter as a whole. Opening weekend, people were loving Amazing Spider-Man 2, despite the faults. They were loving it. Then as you had all these think pieces coming out about, man, Amazing Spider-Man 2, it could have been just so much better, and they were doing X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, but just like a week ago, you guys were loving it. But then, hey, we're going to shit on it, and everybody shitted on it. But like I said, it was a big issue with Amazing Spider-Man 2 is that they basically put so much promotion into, hey guys, Sinister Six, you remember them? They're going to be in the next movie. Let's push this in this movie. And everything with Peter, Gwen, and all that stuff kind of got pushed in the background.
It did.
Yeah.
All right.
My issue was only Jamie Foxx. I didn't have any issue with anyone else.
Another homecoming question for you guys, real quick. I'm sorry. I want to ask a homecoming question.
Yeah.
Okay, so Spider-Man 1, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man 3, Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, he had a spider sense.
Yes.
In this movie.
He has it. It's just that you put more focus.
Don't. If anybody says he has it, stop lying. If anybody says he has it, you better stop lying.
Think about it like this. The only reason why people say he had a spider sense is because look at
Chris.
Hey, Phoenix, Phoenix right. Hey, Phoenix right. I see what you're doing.
Oh, shit, fucking spider sense. Let's focus on that, right?
Hey, yo, Phoenix right.
Spider sense.
The director came
out.
Yo,
Phoenix right. Are you done?
I'll tell you.
Put it in there because
5 goddamn Spider-Man movies. 5 Spider-Man movies. The budget went into fucking slow motion spider sense. I don't need that shit. You know that he has spider sense. I don't fucking
no, baby. What is you doing?
Thank you. What is you doing? What is you doing?
No, baby. What is you doing? No.
Hey, Chris, I'll tell you like this. Right, let me say one thing real quick. I'll say it like this. So in this movie, I you know what's funny is I didn't really notice it until he was out. He was out of Tony Stark's suit, and then he was fighting the Shocker at the school, and then he turned around and the Shocker like landed a flush punch in his gut, and I'm like, why didn't he duck that?
That's
because usually come on, man.
Nigga, he got
I wanted to say for real because I want to back him up on that.
Dog, in the comics, fucking Kraven's Last Hunt, Kraven fucking snuck up on Spider-Man.
Because Kraven's a freaking hunter.
Doesn't matter though. Fucking trigger regardless.
Nigga, he is Steve Irwin. Of course he's gonna sneak up on Spider-Man. Of course he is. And like he would. If anybody would, Kraven would know how to do that.
I'm just saying.
So you guys were okay with no Spidey sense, is what?
No, not at all. Not at all.
But you're implying that with the way you're saying it, and this is what I saw another article that put that in there. So are you framing it as though he doesn't have it, or are you just saying you missed them?
The director kept it absent.
The movie didn't have it in the
because
movie.
Other movies focus too much on it. Kevin Feige said doesn't mean he doesn't have it though. So
that's stupid. That's freaking stupid. That's stupid.
Yeah,
that's literally stupid.
Kevin Feige said
The thing they can do though is say he grows into it, maybe. But
how do you grow?
6 months
into a super. How do you grow into a superpower?
Hey Mo,
that's like saying X-22 don't. That's like saying X-23 ain't going to get her claws until she hits puberty or some bullshit. How do you just get into that?
The powers do evolve.
Most mutants don't awaken most of their powers to puberty. So, and as they refine their powers.
Oh, he's 15. He's been through puberty. Don't go there. Don't go. It's fine. It's just fine to say they didn't want to put it in there. It's fine to say they didn't want to put it in there. That's it. It's really fine to say they just didn't want to put it in there.
If you want to have a history of why that can happen, he does. Even in Ultimate.
Don't you go to comics. Don't you go to comics.
Yeah, he went there. You know Anthony's going to go there. You gotta let him.
Don't you go to comics.
All right.
We start applying real world logic. You guys start fucking bitching on why they can't fucking shoot the Hulk with a fucking hollow point. It's like that's not gonna fucking work. Like
so what you're saying?
I didn't mind it at all. It didn't really.
Yeah, it didn't really.
With the shocker punch that caught my attention that he didn't.
That's why I saw it the most.
It didn't. Really, I didn't mind it. It's fine. It's okay.
It was fine in the movie up till that point, and I was like, okay, something's missing.
Yeah.
From Spider-Man, and that's where it caught my eye. But can we talk about Michael Keaton talking to Peter while they were driving to school? And
hey, look, dude,
not talking about that.
There are only a few superhero movies where I can say I can yell out bullshit. But if y'all were in the movie theater with me and Chris, you heard me loud as day say bullshit. Real loud.
Yeah.
I think it's
look. While I'm really fond of how they frame it and all that. Hey, this is Chris. You know, if this was a DC movie, we would never hear the end.
I know.
Yes, God damn it, yes.
Never hear the end of it.
He brought up a good point when we were talking about this. We were saying, think back to Spider-Man 1. I think the way they executed Norman finding out about Peter being Spider-Man and stuff was a bit executed tighter and better than Homecoming. Just in the sense of how they did.
Yes, it was.
I'm not even talking about that. I want to talk about the speech he gave him, how chilling he played that. Like,
it was perfect.
I enjoyed it.
It's Michael Keaton. Michael could have been talking about opening up a bag of.
Yeah, like
wait, hold up. D went dark there. He said a bag of something, and I could not hear what he said. A bag of. I'm highly interested in a bag of what.
Michael Keaton could have been talking about, hey kid, you know what I like about salt and you know what I like about salt and vinegar chips? He would have made that shit
nigga chips in there. Oh, he said nigga chips. Those are nigga chips, Joe. But go ahead.
Hey, look,
it's still funny.
Listen, he had a black line. He's gonna dip into some black stuff at some point. You know, he got hip to some salt and vinegar chips. You know that shit.
Exactly.
I got a question. And I'm gonna try to recentral this down because everybody's got their opinion going on. Anthony legit had to leave because he got a headache, like for real. Like he was like, I just can't deal with all this. So Anthony's gone.
Yes.
Tony's gone.
That's fucked up, man.
He's a rookie. He's a rookie to this. We used to this right now.
That nigga, he my boy, man. Man, he the best person. He left.
But this is the question. If we're gonna take on Tom Holland in his performance as Peter Parker and his performance as Spider-Man, where do we grade him as Peter Parker? Where do we grade him as Spider-Man in comparison to the others? And what was your favorite scene with him? And you describe what that was. And everybody take your time with it. Don't critique off somebody else. Take your time.
I'll start this off because I actually
go ahead.
All right, so I was always a fan of what's his face from Amazing Spider-Man movies. Goddamn.
Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield. I was a fan of his Spider-Man a bit. It was kind of like the Val Kilmer. His thing with Andrew Garfield, it was kind of like Val Kilmer, where I felt Val Kilmer when he was in Batman Forever. He was a very good Bruce Wayne, but his Batman was just meh. Yeah. So Garfield, I thought his Peter Parker was okay, but I love his Spider-Man, especially when his interaction with that kid in the second one and stuff and all that. I thought that was like, that was fucking Spider-Man right there. So I'm looking at Tom Holland. Actually, back up, even with what's his face in Tobey Maguire, Toby in the Sam Raimi ones, I was okay with both of it, you know, I feel him and Kirsten Dunst had no fucking chemistry whatsoever. So that's the biggest lie anybody tells you. Oh man, they had connection. No, the fuck they did not at all.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
But I thought as Peter, I never really got the idea that he was the smart kid. You know, Spider-Man was fine. So with Tom Holland, what I got is a very young Peter Parker, a very 6 months into the job Spider-Man. Well, about what, a year? Well, no, that was the end of the movie. So yeah, so about 6 months into the job, he's doing it, being Spider-Man and stuff. He's a kid. So I put him a little bit, I would put him in terms of being Spider-Man a little bit below Garfield, just a little bit, but I put him above Toby as Spider-Man. I do put him above Toby and Andrew in terms of Peter Parker.
Oh snap! That's a statement.
That's why I stand on that.
That's fair.
Mine's is shorter. Mine's is very shorter. As far as him being Tom Holland being Spider-Man, I thought he was excellent. As far as him being Peter, I thought he was excellent. Where does he rank? It's hard for me to rank because he hasn't got his quote unquote bad movie yet. You know what I mean? And I say that because in my opinion, everybody to me kind of like shitted on Garfield on Amazing Spider-Man 1 and kind of gave him a little bit more credit in the second one, or vice versa. Matters who you heard it from. So he didn't have to deal with that, and he didn't have to deal with having a really that one and the third one that Tobey Maguire had to deal with. So let's see how good he is when he dealing with the one that's like meh. But that being said, like I said, I think he was fine. I think he was perfect for the role. You know what I mean? As far as him, like I would love to see where he's going to be at 3 years from now, 3 or 4 years from now in the Marvel universe. So other than that, I thought he was fine. I think he ranks probably above Garfield only because I give him he's number 2. Period. There's number 2. I ain't gonna say who's number 1 or number 3. So he's number 2 for me. So he's really good. He's really good.
All right. So pretty like I'm just gonna answer the question as the question was asked. Where does he rank? He's in there as Peter Parker. I think he was the definitive Peter Parker because Tobey Maguire was a very good Peter Parker, not a really great Spider-Man. Because if you remember in Spider-Man 2, where he was trying to balance his life, be Spider-Man, and work and go to college because he was in college, I saw that parallel with Tom trying to balance himself in high school, trying to impress Tony, and then still be Spider-Man at the end of the day. So in terms of him being Peter Parker, he's very, very flush with Tobey Maguire for me, but he's the better Spider-Man. So if I had to rank him as Spider-Man, he'd be number 1, and he's also like what 1-1 with Tobey in as Peter Parker.
I don't know. I think it's hard to really try to score or maybe more or less try to compare since more than likely all 3 of them were in different parts of their life. So it's like, how can you judge a teenager, a late teenager to a younger teenager? I mean, to their age respective, I thought they all did good. And I thought for the adaptation of the comic books that they relate to, I think they all did good. Andrew Garfield, I believe, is the better actor of all 3. But nonetheless, I mean, this Peter Parker, if you like the young adolescents who made mistakes and was careless and just was trying to impress an adult to feel like he's more mature than he was, then yeah, he nailed it. He did absolutely. He was a bad friend. He let his school down in the big competition. He obviously wasn't a good scholar like the other ones were. So how does that make him a good a good Peter Parker when he wasn't smart and committed to his education as all the other Peter Parkers was? Where the other Peter Parkers were good to their girls, they all were bad to the girls. So, for this one, I mean, for his, like I said, for his comic book adaptation, I thought he did a good job, and I think this would be a good question to revisit. Like I know Lucas got it all down pat, but when he comes back to the second Homecoming, which then at this point we should have a good medium of age. abilities and just the growth with their relationship and everything else with other people, we should have something that we should be able to talk about then.
Yeah, maybe they won't leave the Spidey sense out.
Okay, let me. Okay, I'll say. I'm not going to fully judge him because it's just one film, and the others had again at least 2 films that attempt to develop this character. I believe he was great. I believe Andrew Garfield is still the favorite person I've seen play this role. The scene that I felt he was the best in will always be the scene where the whole building comes down on him. The fear and terror in his face when he's trying to get up and he's like, I can't move. It reminded me when he was in, and I don't know how many people saw this film, when Tom Holland was in The Impossible, the big hurricane film.
Bits and pieces of that.
Yeah, with the film that, like, if you haven't seen it again, see that film because he's amazing in it. The film's amazing, but the fear in his eyes in that scene reminded me of the fear in his eyes in the scenes he had with Natalie Watts in that film. And like, that was the only time in this film where I was like, damn, like I'm touched. And that's what I want an actor to do. And while that scene was as powerful as it is to me, Andrew Garfield is still a better Spider-Man, but I think he needs at least another film for me to say definite that the other guy's better.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
I think that overall I enjoyed this Spider-Man. Made me feel like I was reading a comic. And I know this is my reference point for this. I enjoyed him as Peter Parker. I felt like he brought the awkwardness and insecurity and just the he can't win for even when he can't win even when he's doing the right thing. I did get his intelligence just based on some things, but I didn't get he was like Tony Stark level smart. I don't know. I just enjoyed the kid. I think what Lucas said about that panic scene, it made me remember that this is just a kid. Like, for all his power, he's still just a kid. And that scene where he was trapped and begging for help, and I don't know. I loved it. I loved how he was intimidated by adults that he could technically overpower, but he's still not a fully formed person yet. His Spider-Man was witty, funny, flexible, and I think that that's something we lacked in the Raimi Spider-Man films, where I didn't really get the witty humor that I was used to expecting from Spider-Man. That I did get from Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, but Andrew Garfield didn't play the Peter Parker that I was used to. So to me, this was my Spider-Man updated for a new generation. So him, Tobey Maguire, then Andrew Garfield.
Nice. And Anthony Rodriguez, I know you just got in. We're ranking Tom Holland in comparison with him as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. And where does he sit with you right now, as from all the Spider-Mans that we've had? In addition to that, what was your favorite scene with him and why?
If I had to rank him, I think probably like I think it'd be number 2. There's still elements from Tobey Maguire that I still love. I feel like had this kind of like, but a little bit more older, and we didn't really get time with him in high school. I think by like the half of the movie, he was already in college. So Holland right now is a better who I always imagined Spider-Man to be, cracking jokes and, bringing that youth spirit out of him. And it's probably the rebel scene. I talked about it earlier, I think, and I was talking about how like you said, it reminded me of how that he is a kid. He's still a kid. He's still learning, and how Tom Holland did such a great job. I've never really been a fan of the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man personally. Too like kind of like, he mumbled a lot. With the version they wanted to do with him. But if I had to rank them, it would be Tobey Maguire. But I think it'll take a couple movies maybe to see how he, is officially ranked, because we've only really seen him in like 2 movies. So it would be Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, and then Andrew Garfield.
No, that's actually good. I actually agree with all you guys in some way, shape, or form. I think that if I had to, I don't want to go and say like he's comic book accurate, but he really is early comic book accurate incarnation of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Like the scenes where he was kind of like trying to use his webs and kind of like running through, you know, yards and stuff like that, and him not being as agile as he could be. I think even the scene when I looked at it the second time when he was in the National Monument and he was like, I've never been up this high. You know, he was legit afraid, you know, and to me, it's brought up the real simple fact that he really is a kid and he really embodies, you know, that I want to rally behind him and see him progress. So I think that he did a really good job. Andrew Garfield will always be my favorite Spider-Man. I think he had the wit. I think he had the look. I thought he was devoted as Spider-Man. When he was Spider-Man, I thought, like, that is my Spider-Man. But I think with time, Tom Holland can get that way. I actually really enjoyed what he's doing as Peter Parker. He's just really young. So like you said, it's really hard to kind of rank him up at this point. But I guess moving forward, when I think about this movie, and I was going to see what you guys actually thought about it, what do you guys think about the movie as a whole in comparison to the other MCU films? Where do you rank Spider-Man Homecoming and why? Because I mean, for me, you know, Winter Soldier is a highlight. Guardians of the Galaxy is a highlight. Avengers 1 may be a highlight. But this one kind of is very different. You know, this is the first time we've ever gotten Spider-Man with the MCU. They did something very well. Even the post-credit sequence actually brought out some really interesting points what they could do moving forward. But I'm just curious from you guys, what do you guys rank this one by one as far as the other MCU films?
You should just pick people. So this goes smooth.
Yeah,
because
this call names.
Pick somebody.
Pick
one person.
I started off.
There you go, Chris. Chris will start off. Go ahead, Chris. We
go from me and then just go from.
You're the tallest one, so we're gonna go to the class.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. We're just gonna do it this way.
Is this based on height?
No. But okay, so you know, if we're ranking all these movies and stuff, I would say it's up there with Iron Man 1 in terms of like, because one of the things that I enjoy about any movie is that we're at a point where we already know Spider-Man's origins from beginning. It's basically like Bruce's family. We already know how the origin of Bruce Wayne, he got shot, his parents got shot, blah, blah, blah. So I'm glad that it's an origin movie, but it's not an origin movie. So it's just straight up Spider-Man's already Spider-Man, you know, so we already know he's there. But like if I'm taking the movie as a whole, it's up there with Iron Man 1. It's kind of tough for me to sit there and put this over like Winter Soldier or even Civil War in terms of like what it was really like hitting on and stuff. So I mean, it's up there. Like I said, it's up there for me with Iron Man 1, Avengers, and like Winter Soldier in terms of like importance to the MCU as a whole. So it's up there. I would say it's cracking top 5, at least. At the very least.
Okay, next.
Big Gold Belt, next.
Funny thing is, I totally disagree with that. I do not think this cracks it does not crack my top 5 for many reasons. One, it lacks the emotional value of any Marvel cinematic, any movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It did not have the emotional value at all. Number 2, it was not a good standalone because the beginning of the movie, you have to see Civil War in order to understand that. And because they flowered it with so much humor that you quickly overlooked it. But if you had never seen none of those characters before, then you have no idea what was going on. Every other movie took time to at least elaborate how they got to this predicament.
That was the
that it made sense. That's why. What you say?
That was the purpose of the opening of the movie, was showing it from his perspective, what happened in Civil War and all that.
Chris, you're not supposed to interrupt.
Right.
That's
fine.
You made your point already, Chris. We get it.
That's fine. But that also did not show his obsession of what led the whole movie. It showed him being there, being involved, and having a good time. It did not elaborate to the point of why he was obsessed with wanting to impress Tony Stark. Because in my eyes, if I wanted to impress somebody, that's because I wanted to show them that I belonged there. oh, I should have been there, but he was there. So what are you actually proving this whole movie of saying you're obsessed? In theory, all your friends already think you were an Avenger because you were there. It's not like you were not there and you was just in the background and you was like, man, I could have been out there. Now I got to show him why I could have been out there. So it doesn't connect for me. But nonetheless, it wasn't the funniest of all movies because I thought Ant-Man absolutely was the funniest movie of it. And it didn't have the best actor. It didn't have the best actor or any support. I mean, Michael Keaton killed it. I think he's absolutely the best villain of any Marvel Cinematic movie. But nonetheless, it's just not a movie that, as a group, I was just like, we have to go see it again, or we need to go see it again. This is one movie I've seen it one time. I was like, I'm cool with it.
Big Belt, what would you put this movie behind then, or put in front of?
Sounds like everything.
I would go. I would go. Cap. I would go Cap 2. I'll go Guardians of the Galaxy. I'll go Avengers 1. I'll go Iron Man 1, and then I will probably go Ant-Man. Then I would drop this.
Okay, so behind
Good
Ant-Man.
list.
Okay, Lucas.
Good list. Okay. As everyone was talking, I was trying to figure it out. So at first I thought it was at least number 4, which to me will always be behind Guardians, which is my favorite. Winter Soldier, Iron Man 1. But as I started thinking about it, I would put it behind Cap 1 because I really enjoyed the storyline of Cap 1. So this would come in at number 5 for me. But it's not number 5 against, again, I think we said 14 films. Like the other films were good, and this one just rose above those films. All the rest of the films below those are bad movies to me. So this is like, it's a middle of the pack film. Again, I felt no chemistry with any of the characters. Tom Holland was really good in it. Michael Keaton was Michael Keaton in this film. And because of that, I can see it rising above like the Doctor Stranges of the world. Even the first Avengers, which I think it could be the most overrated film in the MCU. So I will put Spider-Man above that. It would, again, fall behind Guardians 1, which was almost perfect to me. Winter Soldier, which was perfect for the first 3/4 of that film, and then it fell apart. And Iron Man 1 and Cap 1, which I think, while at times it was slow, the build of it was so great. And it took away Chris Evans, who can't really act, and it made everyone else better. So it would come in at number 5 for me.
All right. So, well, I don't want to sit there and trigger anybody, but Lucas, you saw Snowpiercer, right?
Yes, I did, sir.
Okay,
I love Snowpiercer.
Okay, we'll talk about it later. Then. I'm not gonna go anywhere.
Hey, hold up, because you brought that up. I'm gonna say this real quick, really quick, because I'm at the drunken levelness of sympathy. So, Snowpiercer was a great film, but it wasn't a great film because Chris Evans was great. It was a great film because everyone else was great in it, and Chris Evans happened to be in it. So, I mean, it is what it is.
That is a great point.
You know what? Fair enough. Just because I'm not trying to.
There you go, Sam. There we go. We're gonna drink to that. I'm gonna drink to you agreeing with me.
Wait, what you drink? What the hell is that? What label on?
All right, Tony.
It's an IPA.
Tony, what's
Sam
your?
Adams.
All right, cool.
What about you, Tony?
So if I had to rank this, would probably be my 4th favorite Marvel movie. If I had to put it in front, if I had to rank it, number 1 is The Avengers. Number 2 is going to be The Winter Soldier. Number 3, Iron Man. Homecoming. I think it's one of the best Marvel movies that they put out. 13, 14 movies right now, and they only have like 4 great villains. If you want to include Abomination also, Hulk, even though it's, I don't know if it's even connected. It is connected, but it's not, memorable. But yeah, I still feel like it's still one of the most emotionally for Marvel nostalgic factor that I felt watching the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. So yeah, I'll probably rank it like number 4 for me.
All right, Mo, just because your looks are just hilarious. What about you?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just kind of like trying to gather my thoughts real quick because like this movie has cracked a lot of top fives. I'm just saying like it's in a lot. So you're saying so everyone has said this is like the second best Phase 2 movie. Phase 3 movie because Winter Soldier.
Mo.
Wait. Because you about to start an argument. You about to start an argument.
Let that man talk. Let that man talk. Let that man talk.
Don't ask us a question. Just tell us what you think.
Go ahead. Say, we're gonna let you finish. But I'm way more interested in what Mo got to say. Go ahead. This is interesting. Go ahead.
No, but you guys have all said. I'm not asking a question, but you guys have all said
he's elaborating.
This is second best Phase 3 movie because you all have had Civil War or somewhere up there. Actually, the best Phase 3 movie because none of you said Civil War.
I said Civil War. I literally said, "Hey, it's kind of tough for me to sit there." I'm probably the only one that said Civil War.
Yeah, because Civil War is not a good movie. But go ahead.
What I'm saying. Okay.
Anyway,
this movie's not in my top 5. It is maybe in the top in 10 because it's been 14, 15 movies, so it has to be somewhere. I'm sorry. That was funny. The Avengers, yes, because that was the first team up movie. Iron Man 1. That's what started everything, to be fair. Guardians, Ant-Man, Civil War, Doctor Strange, and then maybe Spider-Man Homecoming for me. Because if you guys tell me that Doctor Strange doesn't deserve to be mentioned in the top 5, 6 MCU, okay, fine. Then that's you guys' opinions. But that's
number 17. Rank. It's number 17.
But that's my rank. I almost want to put Volume 2 that I really didn't like over Homecoming.
Ooh.
I was really close to Volume 2 and Incredible Hulk over Homecoming. I just had to pull back a little bit. I was really close.
I said almost. I didn't do it. I said almost. I was almost there, but I didn't do it.
All right. Everybody calm down.
Anthony? I think Anthony's the last one before.
Wait, did D go?
No, I did not.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, D. My bad, dog. My bad, homie.
Yeah,
my bad,
it's all good, dog. It's all good.
Wait, is D
I can tell you.
Yeah.
Am I?
Yeah, I'm putting D
Am I?
up.
Okay. Man, because there's a lot of savagery going on out here, and it's just wow. I feel better. I feel a whole lot better. So I could say this: it's better than fucking Iron Man 3, Chris.
You already know
it's better than the second.
You already know we're gonna have our Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith episode.
This is gonna fucking happen, nigga, and I don't know when, but we about to have it out one day.
But audience.
Oh, it should have. It wasn't an audience then. It wasn't an audience then. So there's.
But okay. D is my spirit animal right now. This is crazy.
Okay. You check this out. Check it out. Check it out. I think it's better than Iron Man 2 and 3. I think it's better than both the Thor movies. I'm just being real.
That's not a hard feat.
Doesn't take much.
I think it's better than the Hulk movie. It's better than Volume 2, but that's not saying much.
Damn, I love Volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong. I actually like it. It's not better than Guardians. It's not better than Civil War. It's a smidget better than the first Captain America, but no, it's not. When I really think about it, the first Captain America is better.
Mm-hmm.
Not better than fucking Civil War. It's not better. It's now, who was that? I think that was Niger that said it. Avengers, but it's overrated. But I just had to throw that out there. Jesus. I love it. I love it.
Lucas, my bad.
Lucas is overrated because it's fucking overrated. But go ahead.
Oh, it is. It's greatly overrated. I love it to death. It made me feel like a superhero at the end of it. But honestly, everybody needs to stop. Because everybody needs to stop with that. But Homecoming to me, best Spider-Man movie. So that means third, you can debate third because I would actually think I know what you're about to say is the third best, and I think I know the first two over it. And you can debate probably both, but anyway, for me, it's definitely between 6 and 9 movies. It's between them, and only reason why I'm not ranking it because I just gotta be honest with you. Hey man, somebody got inebriated. And I'm inebriated right now. I'm smoking my bro. So that being said,
hey,
I can't really.
I'm 5 drinks in and I'm 5 drinks in and 2 beers. I understand.
I can't even rank it
for you, huh, Lucas?
I really can't rank it, but I mean rank it to a specific number, but it's around there. And only movie I did not see yet was Doctor Strange. I still haven't seen that, and I'm hearing good stuff about it. I'm hearing my boy. I'm hearing.
You only need to see one scene.
See, I hear like, yo, there's like 4 good scenes of the rest of the movie garbage. Then I'm hearing from the fanboys, the Marvel fanboys, oh my God, this, that, or the other. Then I'm hearing from the only person that's reasonable half the time, unless it's Iron Man 3, he wants to suck the dick for some strange reason. CJ, you got people like CJ was like, look, D, just check it out.
That was his voice, and that was his voice.
You might like it, D, because I know how you get. And then he said something. Then Chris say something to jab at me, like, Batman Forever went on that good, D. I'm like, nigga, I ain't even defending that movie. Why you just bringing Chris? Like, dude, why you just swinging at DC for no reason on that one?
I don't know.
That was unnecessary. I'm sorry. It's like this. I'm sorry that they messed up Mandarin and half that plot didn't make no sense, but you're going to stand by it. It ain't my fault. But anyway, that being said, I really think it does fall between. Let me take that away from 6. I don't think it's the 6th best Marvel movie. So 7 and 9. It falls in between there. There you go.
Okay. There you go, Anthony.
Anthony.
Okay, so I was shocked how much I agreed with a couple of y'all.
Lucas, say it.
No. I don't agree with Lucas. This movie cracks my top 5. And usually when I rate Marvel, I do Marvel properties that are in the MCU. So even with the series, but this ranks in my top 5. To me, somebody said this, and I was really surprised someone had the same number as me. It's my 4. To me, it's I'm basing this on. I think some of you guys have, you base it on the acting or how the plot unfolded. To me, I'm going off pure feeling, how I felt when I watched the movies. To me, Winter Soldier is still the best Marvel movie to me. Yeah, that's the best one for me. I would say Avengers next because it has flaws. It's not a perfect movie, but I felt through that whole movie. I felt anticipation and in the climax, the payoff. So I smoked the cigarettes while I eat the shawarma. So I felt that. Then it's Civil War because it gave me the best, I would say the best on-screen superhero action sequence ever. Like, again, where I felt like you could free frame it and I got a splash page. I love that. And then I would say it's this movie. I would say that it's Homecoming. And while to me right now, and I still have to watch Spider-Man 2 again this weekend, but right now I'm thinking that it's my favorite Spider-Man movie, but I would definitely say it's my favorite of the first Spider-Man movies in a franchise. So it's definitely better than Amazing Spider-Man to me. It's better
Niggas only 3 of those. Niggas only 3 of those. You keep saying the best in the Spider-Man universe like we got 8 of them. You said starter films. We've had a first movie for all these Spider-Man, right? So each one has had multiple turns at bat. So to me, for his first turn at bat, if we're not counting Civil War as his first standalone movie for himself, this movie to me is the best of their first. And I'm thinking that that's going to be my favorite after this weekend, but I can't tell yet. So yeah, I mean that's where it stands for me. It's a number 4. I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
You didn't even mention Guardians one time. That's incredible.
Hey,
son.
Guardians 1, you can go watch Firefly.
Oh, snap.
Serenity, yeah.
So I enjoy
clutching my pearls. What?
I enjoy Guardians 1.
Can I say something? Can I say something?
No, can we hear Sam's?
Can I say something? Oh, Sam, my bad, homie. My bad.
We need Sam.
My bad, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not.
Sam likes everything, so I Saw the Light was one of his favorite films. I'm waiting for this one. Go ahead, Sam.
So I am too.
Sam, you like it? Go ahead, sir.
Do this, sir.
Wait.
Government.
Oh my God! What is wrong with you? Okay, so look.
It's called liquor. That's what it's called.
Yes.
So
come on, let's speak.
My list right now for the MCU goes this: Guardians of the Galaxy, Winter Soldier. Man, I'm in between Ant-Man and Avengers 1. I might say Ant-Man. I'm gonna say Avengers 1. And then actually my 6, I would leave it at Homecoming. Because the problem that I actually had with Doctor Strange and the problem that I had with Winter Soldier are two different things. Like for Doctor Strange, I love the ideas. I love what they did from a visual immersion standpoint. I love what the progression of what the character could be and what he's gonna mean for the universe. But like they did what they normally do with their villains to something that I thought could have been great, unfortunately. And then with Winter Soldier, I appreciate it as a fan, but as far as a structural movie for Captain America, that did not feel like a Captain America movie. They had some great scenes, great imagery, but because it wasn't its own condensed Cap movie, and on top of that, I compare it to the actual comic book, I couldn't help but do that. You know, I don't know, it felt really overhyped for me. So unfortunately, neither one of those are in my top 5.
Wow.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Did you say Winter Soldier's not in your top 5?
No, Civil War.
Winter
Soldier is my number 2. Winter Soldier is number 2.
Sam, you made it really sound like it was Winter Soldier. I'm letting you know that now.
I'm sorry.
I just noticed something. Sam, I'm sorry, but real quick, I just noticed something. None of us said anything about Age of Ultron.
Nor should you.
Wow. Nobody. I just noticed. No one said something.
I didn't like it.
And I will admit it straight up and down. As much as me and D, we were like, oh my God, Spader, blah blah blah. I think Age of Ultron. It's hard for me to even put that as like a top 10.
Exactly.
Everybody, let Sam finish.
Is that the same movie?
Let Sam finish his top 5 because I'm going to fucking go in on Chris for that comment that he made about fucking Age of Ultron because I remember his original comment that was the best Marvel movie. Go ahead. Please finish.
I got podcast episodes to back that up because I never said it was the best Marvel.
Hey, Chris. Right now, personally, this is what I got you. I got you in the corner, like, hey man, you want to do this? You sure you want to swing? Because I'll help you. I'll help you, son.
Because those Geek World Order jumps do not go away. I've been talking about this forever. But go ahead, Sam. Finish, Sam.
Go ahead, Sam. Finish, Sam. Please finish, Sam.
To be fair, if I remember correctly, Chris was talking about Winter Soldier. I'm sorry. He's talking about Civil War. He wasn't talking about Age of Ultron. When he was talking, I remember because we were in the line, and like Chris made
I'm going back way before that though. I'm going back opening weekend of Age of Ultron when I used to argue with you all that Age of Ultron will open up bigger than any film in the world.
Okay.
Come on, dude. Come on. I may be drunk. I ain't that drunk. Go ahead, Sam. Finish.
I legitimately already finished. I gave you guys Guardians of the Galaxy. I said Winter Soldier. I gave you Ant-Man, Avengers 1, and then I gave you for my number 6, it is Spider-Man Homecoming. And I personally really did not like at all Age of Ultron. But there are for specific reasons. If you want to know about that, just let me know. I would say that Iron Man 1 is right behind Homecoming, but there's
right. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Actually, I'm actually fine with that. I disagree, but I'm fine with that notion, though. I disagree, but I'm fine with that.
And then after that, it's weird because I'm torn between saying Captain America 1 right after Iron Man 1, but I think I might have to leave it there. And so that's where I'm at with it. If you guys want to know problems I have with MCU movies, let me know. We can have.
We're gonna list this eventually.
So just today, I'm gonna leave it alone.
Let me say this because one, I like the way these last two discussions have went because we have listened to each other. We don't have to agree with each other, but we gave each other a chance to make a point on the films and Spider-Man in a very civil way. I started off with that way. But fuck all y'all. Clearly, fuck most of y'all, my bad. Anyone who has Civil War in a top 5, fuck you. Because besides an airport scene, which was great, awesome, had fucking absolutely nothing to do with a fucking storyline. They plugged that shit in there. They fucking plugged Spider-Man in there for 20 minutes for no purpose. No purpose. That shit is not good as a movie. But understand that. I understand that. Because if you're in the comics, I understand that you're gonna get a special enjoyment off of these films that I'm not going to get. Off that scene, all I saw was something highly unnecessary plugged into a film. But
he has a point.
Again.
He has a point, guys. I'm sorry. This is coming from somebody that liked the movie. This is coming from somebody that liked the movie. He has a bit of a point.
It's no point in that. But anyone who didn't have Guardians in their 5,
he was agreeing with
also because you're bullshit. Guardians should be in your top 5.
Thank you.
Spider-Man: Homecoming is snuck in my top 5, but as I listen to Sam, which again, I don't change my opinions much, but as I listen to Sam and Big Gold Belt, because I am not in a predicament of my level of drunkenness to call you by your first name, because it's not going to sound right.
I mean,
but I agree that Ant-Man actually, to me, was a better film than Spider-Man: Homecoming.
I agree.
Much better.
I agree.
Much better of a film. Again,
I don't say much better, but it was better.
And I say this as somebody, and D knows this, I'm a fan of obscure characters. Ant-Man was a shock to me because I'm like, holy shit, somebody actually made a fucking Ant-Man movie, and it was actually shit.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was sort of like, for me, it was sort of like Guardians, where it really like smacked me in the mouth of how good it was. You know what I mean? Like it went over well.
But you know what though? This is the reason exactly why the comment earlier where somebody was like, it's Marvel. They can't do no wrong because you've seen the culture of them coming up with Guardians of 4 people may not have known, and it's been a great movie. Or Ant-Man, somebody that do know but made a hell of a movie out of it. So it's like Captain Marvel on Marvel should be great.
Exactly. I think that's better when you don't know the character and you come in with no expectations for the casual viewer. Yeah. I'm the casual viewer when it comes to these films. Like, I think all you all know a lot more about comic books than I can ever imagine knowing about comic books. So as a casual viewer, when I'm coming in, I need entertainment, acting, things of that nature. That's what I'm looking for. Also, I'm gonna say this because D's gonna yell at me right after I finish this comment. I agree with Chris. Fucking Iron Man 3 was great to me. It was a Shane Black movie. It was something. I came into it. I expected it because I know Shane Black, and I'm like, okay, this is giving me exactly what I want from a Shane Black film. Granted, it's not an Iron Man movie. It's just a Shane Black film. So I respected it and I liked it because of that.
This is why black people can't do nothing with each other. See, this is why black people can't do nothing with each other, man.
Hey, I said it before on Twitter. Iron Fist and that fucking shitty ass Inhuman show sacrificed on the cross for these MCU movies to be good.
Exactly.
Hey, if Marvel had to fucking trip and fucking fall on their face, it was gonna be Iron Fist season 1 and fucking Inhumans. Fuck it, I'll take that. Shit, they had to fuck up somewhere. It had to be those two.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I know people hype for it. Defenders are not out the realm either of that sucking. I'm just gonna put it out there.
It's not going to be horrible.
It is not too far off from sucking too. I'm just I'm not trying to curse it. I'm not trying to curse it or anything. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to curse the show, but I just think it might fall too. Saying I look whatever, hands up.
They got the people from Daredevil on Defender, so that gives me hope.
Hold. Let me say this, and I don't want to interrupt anyone else speaking, but let me say this. Ain't none of them Netflix shows actually good besides Jessica Jones.
Luke Cage.
Luke Cage is a black exploitation film that ran 14 hours, too
Thank
long.
you very much. Thank you very much. I've
None of
said
the rest of them
this
shows is
on
good.
occasion.
They got Jessica Jones
I said
right,
that about Luke
and they
Cage.
4
got
hours,
the
too.
first season of Daredevil okay, and then the rest of them shows is bad. Why the fuck
Daredevil
would you
season
think
2 is not
Defenders
great.
is
It
going
was a
to be
Punisher and
fucking?
Elektra show.
I never got through Daredevil season 2. I stopped
What?
at episode 4 and said, "Fuck this!
Wow,
Fuck
really,
this! I'm not
dude?
finishing this shit."
Nah.
That shit was, it was a piece of shit.
How do we
It's a piece of
mute
fucking
him?
shit. You know, hold up, let me say this, because
You
it was
need
a
to-
piece of shit for one reason and one reason only. When I realized Daredevil wasn't the best character on his own fucking show, I stopped watching
Very
it.
much.
But-
Why would I watch that?
But no, that's not a fair assessment because
That is not a fair
That is
assessment.
very, very fair
Depending on the
assessment.
situation,
Why it is a fair
every
assessment is because
Go ahead.
Najir,
Go
I think I
ahead.
said your name right. Najir,
Yeah.
Najir.
it is
Could you name me the last show where the lead character on the show was not the best character on the show?
Walking Dead.
Exactly. The name of the show.
Nigga, there's no lead character on The Walking Dead.
There's no.
There's no
and
lead
Walking Dead
character
is
on this
not.
show.
Yes,
Actually, the
there
lead
is.
character in Walking Dead is the zombies.
It is.
Exactly.
The Walking
Rick
Dead.
Grimes.
Wait, what y'all talking about?
Rick Grimes is the main character.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is,
there is a
on
main character.
Daredevil season 2,
The
it's
show is
named
called Daredevil.
Daredevil, and he's not even the fourth most interesting character on that show.
You're right. The show is
Fuck,
called.
Hell's Kitchen is a better character than Daredevil.
All right. Decorum.
Okay, so bang the gavel.
But
Let's
again,
get
We
back.
need some
yeah,
decorum in here,
I don't
gentlemen.
want to. Fuck it, I can't say the word because I'm drunk right now. But
No,
Tap
But
out, bro.
I was just pointing out the issues of the MCU, and I didn't want to over-highlight Spider-Man Homecoming, even over-highlight Avengers. Well, I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's not a bad movie. And it's a movie, if you like Spider-Man, you should see. But go in there with expectations of just seeing a kind of good movie. Don't go in there thinking you're going to see a great movie like Rotten Tomato has you thinking you're going to see.
Can we define?
That's not going to happen.
Can we define what? Okay, so because this kind of ties into the MCU. This is actually just real quick stuff. Like, can we naturally define what is like legit bad and what's like good? Because like I really feel there's we've podcasted on legit bad fucking movies. Like there's nothing about it that's redeeming, and like I've always sat there and felt that like. Are these MCU movies bad, or are we just like it isn't hitting our expectations of what makes like a good movie from like top to bottom?
Well, Chris,
I will say,
Welcome to
one person-
Disney movies.
Welcome
to Disney movies.
Welcome to everybody just let Chris answer this.
I'm only
Go
trying to understand it about like Lucas is going with it. 'Cause I understand he's coming at it from the average Joe that doesn't read comics angle. And I get that stuff because I know even people that are average people that don't read comics, they can still excuse a lot of comic booky stuff in movies because they know the structure of what it is coming from. It's like, okay, I'm fine with that. So I'm trying to understand, like, when you're saying it's bad, are you saying it's bad because it's not doing what, say, I don't know, like a fucking movie like Blade Runner did in terms of it being a good movie, that kind of thing? Or is it just...
Let me comment first just because let me comment first just because of that reason of Chris said, because again, a lot of you all have deep connections to these films that I don't have. So Chris, this is my thing. For the MCU and most of the films based off of comics, I judge them on the same slant that I judge horror movies on. Like, I'm not going to compare a great horror movie. I'm not going to compare a great horror movie to a great movie overall. I take it as a slant. So when I look at these MCU movies, I couldn't say that Thor 1, Thor 2, this movie, any of those films below my top 3 are good films. I'm like, okay, if I judge them on a slant and I accept that they're going to have huge flaws in it that I'm not going to understand, then I can judge them as good films. So that's how I judge all of these films. Because if I judge them on the scale of what's a good film compared to what they produce, Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy will be the only ones that could come close to being even a good film.
Because bear in mind, I'm not saying any of these MCU films have to be Oscar worthy. Because I know there's some delusional ass MCU fan, Marvel heads, and D will co-sign on this. That'll be like, these movies should get nominated for Oscars. I'm like, hey, pump your brakes, dog. No, please don't do that at all. Like, you're making us look really bad when you say that shit. Like, please stop. Please, for the love of God, stop. Like, I would never. I love Winter Soldier, but I'm not gonna say, oh man, Chris Evans should be nominated for Best Actor. No.
All these films should be judged on the slant. There is no reason to compare them all together.
True.
All right, that's why I was trying to understand. Because I was like, what the fuck is this grading on? I don't get this.
And see, to me, that's a great way of doing it. Like you said, graded on the same level of a horror movie. Yeah, I know exactly how you trying to grade it, and that makes sense to me.
Now I understand. Okay, confusion is gone.
Yeah, it's like why why do you give Saw an A and not Dad at this? And you have a reason why behind it. You know what I mean? You have a reason behind it. So there you go.
I want to hear what Tony has to say about this, man. Anthony. Yeah, I want to hear what you have to say about where we're gonna judge this movie. Like how are we going to judge?
Every movie as a movie. I don't judge a horror if it scares me. If it's a good movie with good story, with good acting, with good cinematography, then that's it. Because it's a comic book movie. I used to do that a while. I don't know. I feel like if you say, "Oh, it stay true to the comic," and that's like the kind of that you leave it at, studios are going to be listening to that all the time, and therefore their reaction is going to be, which is why Marvel movies tonally feel the same. They don't. You have to evolve. I love movies like The Winter Soldier. That's a political. Movies like Logan, that I feel like a Western and then a space opera. So I judge it as a movie book. Like The Dark Knight is not a book movie. That's a crime mob trilogy. That's just how I judge it.
No, that's actually a really good point, because even for me, like it's weird. Like I have so many different people that give their opinion because I do so many reviews on different things. And like, well, how could you give this movie this review? How could you give that movie this review? What I always say, even before I end it, like if I judge this movie as a critic, you would not like what the grade that I would give it. You would not even give it the time of day, because I'm assessing it as a critic versus as somebody that's trying to enjoy a film. Like when I look at any of the DC movies, Fox movies, or Marvel movies, I'm looking at them as comic book movies. And how do they make me feel? What's the expression about what they're trying to do? What is the difference between them? One of the problems that I have with a lot of the MCU is that they are all culturally the same in some shape or form, and they all have to tie to each other. But then the lover of me, because I grew up on X-Men, I grew up on all those characters, I'm okay with that. But I also want more. I need something to bridge that gap between my critical side and my lover of superhero films. And that's how I assess these. But if like it was like I gave Lucas this movie, it was like I Saw the Light. Lucas knew for a fact this movie sucked balls, and I legit I talked to him about it after the movie. I said, look, when I go on film, I'm gonna tell people, look, this is what my personal perspective on this movie is. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10. This is what I'm gonna give it. I sent Lucas this other message, and I was like, in short, this is a 2 out of 10 movie. This sucks. Don't see it. That was what I said. But from a critical standpoint and from a political one, I legit was like, I can't do that. I have to look at it from outside in. And so when I look at these superhero movies, I don't assess them as like it's got to be Oscar-worthy caliber, Dark Knight level. I don't want every single one of these to be like Logan. I want there something to express something to me. When I felt the situation that happened with Tom Holland, when he got that stuff knocked down on him, that is something that left an impression on me on an emotional level. And so that is why I put this movie, like if that moment had never happened and I judged the rest of the movie, it would probably be stuck with maybe Guardians 2. Like all honesty, like it wouldn't have that real kind of effect to me, because I go off of the impression of certain moments that happen, like certain flair, certain characters that I'm picking on. When I looked at what they did with the Vulture, dude, I love Michael Keaton, but I didn't know that they would leave that impression on me of this villain that I really love, I actually really like. those two things platform this movie for me and my assessment of how it makes me feel. So I mean, I didn't mean to go all that, but when you asked that question, I was like, let's go there. So the question I have for you guys is, with Spider-Man, with Tom Holland, somebody had already said, I think Mo brought it up, is that this would be better suited on like Netflix or maybe like a series. So my question is to you guys, do you think that Spider-Man will ever be a part of this Netflix series? Because he would be better suited. Well, I heard Lucas saying, do you guys think that will ever happen, and how would that actually work? Do you think it would happen, and what would it look like? That's my question.
I think you could do it, but see, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. No, the only reason why I really say don't do it is it's two parts. Because number one, I just don't think it will fit, even though it will perfectly. It will be perfect for Spider-Man to be in that whole realm, that whole universe right there. But then again, I see how everybody really bitched and moaned about Batman being in everything. And as a lover of Spider-Man, I'm the same way. I love you, Peter. I love you, Miles. If I see both you motherfuckers one more time, I am tired of a lot of Spider-Man stuff. When there's always a new Spider-Man game, there's always a new Spider-Man movie, there's always this flood of Spider-Man. I get it. He's your moneymaker. I understand that. I love Peter, man. Give him a different suit. I love it. I'll buy it. I love him. But here's the thing. I don't want to see this motherfucker all the time. So is keep him in the movies where he needs to grow. Keep him there. Put out a cartoon. That's where it ends. That's where it ends. I am tired of seeing a whole lot of Spider-Man stuff every freaking year. And it's probably because I have two sons that love Spider-Man. It's probably now that I realize, like, holy shit, there's a lot of Spider-Man stuff. Why is me as a kid felt like I was deprived? I mean, yeah, we didn't have much as they do now, but come on, man. Spider-Man's everywhere. I get it. But back to the main question. Just to be honest, no, don't do it. Just don't do it.
Can I chime in?
Can I comment next? Hold up, and Crosby. Let me say this, because I hate getting thoughts that pop in my head and they go out really quickly. I think Sam's original question is pretty good. Matter of fact, fucking great. Because the question is, should Spider-Man be part of this universe on Netflix? 100% so. He should be part of the universe on Netflix. He is perfect. Technically, Spider-Man is a street-level villain. Street-level hero. So he fits perfectly with everything that they're doing on Netflix. Unfortunately for Marvel, when they sold the rights of Spider-Man when they were broke, Sony turned him into the second biggest hero in the world behind Batman. So money-wise, it makes absolutely
not just Sony.
Because money-wise, Spider-Man actually makes more money than Batman and Superman. Dead serious.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, I'm not. What did I cut out? I cut out the marketing stuff for Spider-Man.
Okay, I thought you were talking marketing.
No. When you account for toys and everything, Spider-Man's number one. I'm just talking about for films and box office. He's right behind Batman.
Oh yeah, he's right behind Batman.
Yeah, for business purposes, you can't do it. But in all honesty, he fits perfectly with Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, the white guy who thought he knew karate, and Spider-Man. Like, Spider-Man fits perfectly in there, but unfortunately, we know, because Marvel does not own the rights to Spider-Man, that will never happen. But Sam's question wasn't if business dictated how would Spider-Man go. His question would Spider-Man fit better on a Netflix series? 100% so it would, because even someone who's never read a comic book, I know his stories are way too in depth to be condensed to 2 hours.
Yeah. So can I go on this? So what you're saying is really correct, and that's what I'm trying to talk about. These different story arcs is that they're very slow builds. There's multiple story arcs building to have some kind of climax. with the Clone Wars or Mexican cloning or anything like that.
Looks like our philosophy
So,
show up for work today. Tonight, just now,
is
shot.
anybody hearing this? All right.
What in the world is that?
So to me, one of the great things.
And it was the, yeah.
Is that
I
Lucas?
told him, find people.
So if he doesn't show up, that's a no call, no show.
Lucas.
Oh my gosh.
Sam, can you?
So-
Okay.
It's all good. I got him out the way.
All right. So to me, he should be. It's a high school drama. It's an action thing. It's Spider-Man was always the bridge between the street level heroes, but then he could also be in some kind of like world level event. But he should be hanging out with Daredevil. He should be, also like I feel like Spider-Man was that character that it always seemed like you could have him paired with any other character. He could have a guest star. I believe for a while in what was the comic series he premiered in? Like he was always teaming up with somebody else. That's great about his character. I'd love
Iceman?
to see this Peter Parker. Huh?
You said
I
keep going.
would love to see this
Deadpool?
Peter Parker hang out with Matt Murdock or be a part of the Daily Bugle or meet the Ben Urich. Is that his name is? They died in the first season of Daredevil. Like he fits perfectly in that. So yes, he should. But I kind of feel like defining the best version of Spider-Man we've gotten outside of comics in any medium has been spectacular. Just like the best Batman we've ever gotten to me has been the Batman animated series. I feel like that's probably the only thing we're ever going to get to meet that level of it, just because they're not going to put the most popular superhero in the world in a television series anytime soon on Netflix.
After your point, I mean, originally I didn't have an answer, but after your point, I do now. And to the point that, because I don't agree, because I think we all forgot about the philosophy of what this Spider-Man was, where he was obsessed with being an Avenger. So putting him on Netflix with 4 people who aren't Avengers, who are just street level superheroes, how would Spider-Man mesh with that when he feels like he's above them? So you're going to put him in this universe of people where
The end of the movie, he didn't feel like he was above them.
he still wants to impress Tony Hawk. He left saying, I know this was a trick. I know you wanted me to do this. That's why I'm not going to do that, because he wants to impress Tony Stark. And on the other end of the spectrum,
the ending was him saying, "No, I don't want to be an Avenger because I want to impress you."
He's looked at Tony Stark and said, I know this was a joke, right? Like this was a test.
Well, hold on. He said that he feels as though he should be on the ground level to learn. He said that I want to stay toward the ground like you're suggesting so I can get better to get to that point. I think his goal is definitely to still be an Avenger. And he's not recounting that. He asked him, was this a test? Like, I know you think I'm not ready yet. I need to continue to train and, get attuned to these kind of situations. The way I perceived it was that he's like, he knew he has more work that needs to be done. He needs more training, more assignment. That's the way I kind of perceived it. So I understand what Anthony's saying, but I think that he definitely knows that his main goal is to be an Avenger. Yes, he wants to make Tony proud, but I think he had this understanding like, man, if I was with the Avengers, I wouldn't have been able to be on the groundwork to get this taken care of. I wouldn't have been connected with my friends enough to actually know, like, oh, wow, one of my friends, her dad was the main villain, So I think that he got that understanding for himself that he needs to stick to the ground for now so he can really get his legs kind of up.
Right, and to be in Hell's Kitchen with the other 4 people, I mean, they're basically vigilantes. They're taking matters into their own hand and abusing their power, where Spider-Man is sort of still trying to figure himself out, but still under the scope and the tutelage of Tony Stark to say, like, I want to, in other words, I want to be your son, sort of say, and impress you in ways that you can always count on me. So I don't think he will fit on the Netflix level on that note.
I think I get what you're saying. I get you saying that he believes he belongs in the NBA, so he doesn't want to play high school ball right now. I get that. But I feel like I have always felt, and again, this is my bias just because of how immersed I've been in this, is that Spider-Man is that character that can be in a really great comic with Daredevil or Wolverine, but still can end up in outer space somewhere. Like, but he functions as a neighborhood hero to me best. You know, the same thing with Batman. Batman can be a street level hero, but because he's Batman, if he's out in outer space with the Justice League, you go, okay, that's Batman. That's the kind of thing that I feel for Spider-Man. I feel like at the end of this, where he was at the end of this film is that the Avengers, like you told me, Tony, this is above their pay grade. They're not going to be worrying about some stick-up guy getting some high-tech gun. They're not going to be worried about that. They're not going to be worried about like bullets that go through Luke Cage's skin. This is where I need to be because you're right. The Avengers are above their pay grade. I need to learn here so I can get to that higher level. So to me, in that, I would love to see him interact with those level characters. I'd love to see him interact with Ghost Rider because I think that's the kind of character Spider-Man is. But again, I know my lens is kind of skewed.
Marvel Team Up presents Ghost Rider and Spider-Man, you know, that kind of shit.
Right. Yes, that's what I'm trying to think of.
He should definitely be on Netflix. And I'm gonna say my reason for that is because you want to see progression.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone has said, this movie didn't have any progression. This movie didn't set up anything. This movie didn't set up a relationship with him. And you want to see progression, and you can only do so much progression in a 2.5-hour movie or 2-hour movie. A 14-hour book, a Netflix show, would you be able to see a lot more progression in his relationships? You'd be able to see a lot more progression in his powers and his abilities, and then you can do 1 or 2 seasons of Spider-Man on Netflix, and then throw him up there with the Avengers. That way, you know, like Lucas was saying in the beginning, where you're gonna have this space between now and the next Spider-Man movie. Like
so many stories could be told.
You can and you can do 1 or 2 seasons, maybe even just 1, and then you know really flesh it out in that one season on Netflix, and then you know. But again, he's one of the biggest Marvel characters, in terms of like, he's one of the biggest Marvel characters in terms of the movie. So it's a very, very hard sell, but it would be a very good sell if Sony and Marvel could actually do it. And I think they should do it again because you want to see a lot of progression with the Spider-Man. Because again, if you wake up in the next Spider-Man movie, you just throw him in there, and all of a sudden he and Michelle James are dating, I will have a problem with that. You know, especially if you don't explain it really well. I would honestly look at that and have a problem with it. I just think him on Netflix would work because again, progression. That's the only thing I'm saying is just progression. You know, you just don't want to see certain things just happen because again, you have 2.5 hours in a movie. First act is where you explain, you know, the smaller stories, and then you know you go into the second and third act to explain the bigger stuff. But you know, and especially I want to see more of a relationship with him and Aunt May. And I feel like you have to do so much in a Spider-Man movie. Sometimes you're gonna leave that out. I felt it was a little left out in this movie.
Yeah, I mean,
so
but
No. Go ahead.
I was saying, like, you know, people say there was no progression, but like I mentioned at the top of the show, I was like, well, there was progression on the villain side of things and stuff. I mean, my thing is this,
okay, but that was the villain side of things. What about
like the hero side of things? At least to me, it was just that revelation that he realized, okay, maybe all the stuff that I felt that I was ready for, like I'm ready to be Avenger, he wasn't quite ready yet. And with that progression of just like realizing, hey, you know, let me stay in my lane for right now until I feel that I'm ready to really step it up like that. If you want that, I mean, that to me, that was progression. Because I mean, let's be real about this. He was all like, I want to be Avengers, and then it's like, oh shit, you know, maybe I do need to sit there and kind of like peel it back a little bit and focus on my life and focus on this neighborhood instead of like Avenger stuff. So I mean, it's
and
weird.
Learning balance.
Yeah, it's weird to me. Like, people say they want progress, but I'm like, okay, is it just less progress and more like, okay, this movie didn't nail what I thought it was going to nail, or is it just like, I mean, because I don't know what people want with progress and stuff. It's like, okay, what do you want with progress? Are you expecting it to be like Avengers 1 and even Age of Ultron, where we see ramifications of what? I mean, what do you want? It's like, come on, Spider-Man. I mean,
yeah, and he's about to quit school.
Yeah,
like
he was definitely about to quit school in the movie, and all of a sudden, like, okay, first of all, he ditched his team, and all he got was not even detention. They just said, "Oh, you know what? You're a smart student. You're back in class." Like,
I mean, he almost got suspended. He did get suspended.
Hold up. Can I ask a very
that was
quick
a
question?
quiet ass suspension. That's what that was.
Quick question though.
Extracurricular activity.
If it was Miles Morales would have got expelled.
We know this is true. We know that is true.
Oh, quick question for everybody. Very quick question.
Yeah.
Would Spider-Man have worked better instead of connecting it to the MCU if Marvel would have stepped in and made this a solo pick? I think that's part of the issue with Spider-Man. Like, we can't. Obviously, it'll never be a Netflix film because the series makes way too much money.
Yeah, it needs money. That's
But
the only way it's gonna work.
instead of making it a Netflix series, if it would have been the Dark Knight trilogy with Spider-Man, would it have came out better? Because at that point, I get
Not for
about
me.
I get about 8 hours of just Spider-Man.
Actually,
I don't have to.
here's where your answer
Not
comes.
for me.
Because actually, here's where the test comes with this, right? We're getting that animated Miles Morales movie next year. That's going to be your answer right there on whether, because that's going to be self-contained. It ain't touching nothing from the MCU.
Exactly.
And that's your test. That's your test on, because, and honestly, that's Sony's test right there. Because let's be real about this. That Venom movie ain't fucking happening because they should be filming right now. It ain't fucking happening.
No. Venom's happening because they paying Tom Hardy way too much money to be Venom. That's
True,
gonna
they got
happen.
You forget.
Best working actor right now, Tom Hardy.
No, you forget. People forget. Shawn Wayne's got paid money to play Robin in Batman and Robin, and he never got the part.
And I would have paid Shawn Wayne's the less than $1 million it would have took for him to play Robin.
No, but
But we
he still got paid for it.
We had
He never-
Hold on. Here's the thing.
But my point is, hold up. But my point is, if you would have taken 3 films to build Spider-Man up, meaning a lot of the stuff, if you take away what it took to connect Spider-Man to the MCU out of this movie, it's about 30 to 40 minutes of film that you could have just spent on developing the character more.
Right.
If you do that, and you do that for 3 matter of fact, if you just do that for 2 films, and then magically Spider-Man ends up in your next Avengers film, that's a fully fleshed out character.
The problem with that, Lucas,
that you're not gonna get.
The problem with that, Lucas, is that not that they shot themselves in the foot. I understand it from a marketing standpoint. The reason why they put Black Panther and Spider-Man in Civil War was to boost that. That added to the flair that everybody enjoyed Civil War about.
Yeah. True.
Unless if I go on the critical side, that's a flaw. But that is the reason why.
Sam, if I go into the business side, that's also a flaw.
Yeah, I mean,
because I feel, and I've always felt, they put Spider-Man and Black Panther in Civil War, which is Avengers 3, even though Chris gets on me about that. That's still Avengers 3. 2.5 at the least, even though the budget was bigger, than both Avenger films. But the reason you put them 2 in there and you lead to Infinity Wars is because Age of Ultron made $300 to $400 million less than the first Avengers film. The drop was so significant, they thought if we bring in other characters, maybe we could get that boost again, even though in the end they still made about $300 million less than Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron, but that's just my theory on that one.
Yeah, well, I mean,
I told you that, Chris, and I told you that, but you wouldn't believe me when I told you that was going to happen.
You know what? It's kind of funny.
Though,
Lucas is kind of, and Lucas, I can back you up on that because I kind of agree with you when you said that too. I was backing you up with it, and Chris was actually kind of nodding off like, yeah, that ain't never going to happen.
Exactly. I don't know why you didn't understand why that would happen.
I would say this.
Tony, you were going to say something. Chill. Tony was going to say something. I want to hear what he had to say.
Back up.
Real quick. So the reason why I brought up why I feel like Spider-Man would benefit more as a Netflix show is if you asked me 5 years ago, Spider-Man, I would have said no. Because television has changed so much over the past couple of years. Some of the writing on television is a lot better than some of the movies I've seen in 2017.
That's true.
Like Stranger Things, Game of Thrones, Mr. Robot, even True Detective.
Yeah.
I get what your sentiments are, but the thing is, why I say that is because as the movie, it wouldn't not have worked. You see Kingpin's backstory, and if you would have had it in the movie, it would have felt forced. It would have felt shoehorned, but because they have all those episodes there to support that character and give backstory to those characters, it made it so, because like you said, Lucas, because Tom Holland's not getting any older, and
exactly.
Spider-Man movie comes out, it's gonna be like 5 years because we have Infinity War, Captain Marvel, Black
It's
Panther.
2019. Why do you keep saying 5 years?
I don't think it's set up. It's not confirmed yet. That's the thing. The time that comes out, we're gonna have so many movies forced. But the reason, that's why I say it's better as a Netflix show. Feel
Ain't got nobody to
contained, and it wouldn't have to be it feel forced to.
I sent an email out about it.
Don't worry, I got you.
I agree that you can't put like, if you try to do Game of Thrones the movie, if you try to put all these seasons of Game of Thrones into a 2 hour or two hour movies, you would miss so much. Like, I agree.
You have to.
You would lose something. You would lose something.
You would lose so much, and I think that was the thing with Daredevil. I agree with that. I think that a lot of the stories, again, like Age of Apocalypse or Age of Ultron or Dark Phoenix Saga or Venom, need to be multiple movies to build up.
Exactly.
Yeah. To me, though, and I think maybe I'm the minority in this, I love the fact that the Vulture tech makes sense in the Marvel global scale. Like, I like the fact that there's ramifications to I Am Iron Man that has made these other things possible, and I like the connections. I like that the world makes sense that way, and it's logical to me. So I mean, to me, I like that there's other things sprinkled throughout the movies that further. And I'm trying to think about this. To me, every time I see a Marvel movie, I feel like I'm reading the next chapter of one comic series instead of like multiple different series. I'm reading this continuation, and they all connect. So, and I think maybe I'm the minority in that, and maybe that's why I'm having a little bit of a different opinion on what I like and I dislike than, like, say, Lucas.
Yeah. Nah, I think all of you guys make some really good points in terms of the scope of the universe. I think one of the biggest things I always think about, somebody mentioned it, what if Game of Thrones did what Peter Jackson did with the Lord of the Rings, right? And made Game of Thrones and put them in movie forms in like 3 different movies. I think it would change the whole ability to be able to expand the world and the cult following that they have. You know what I'm saying? I think that if Lord of the Rings, maybe if that was a series like, you know, what Game of Thrones is, it would be completely different. We never would know. But just like Anthony or Tony said, that the way that Netflix has changed the game, the way that HBO opened up the gap for the expression of like book to form on a movie scale, but on the, you know, the small screen, I think that makes it so much more plausible for something like a superhero film like they're doing with Netflix and some of the other stuff to be a lot more manageable later on. And so eventually they're going to have like this one major superhero that we all know and love have their own series. It's just not going to be right now. It's going to take some time, in my personal opinion. But let's wrap things up, everybody. What is your official rating? No reneging this time. What do you rate it from 1 to 10? Spider-Man Homecoming, and then we're going to close it out with plugs.
7. 7 out of 10.
7.5.
9 out of 10.
Wow.
Tony, what'd you give it?
10.
Okay.
8. I give it an 8.
Lucas, you're muted again.
There you go. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
We just trying to keep your personal life off the show.
Hey, dude, because I'm still working and I'm getting calls about work, so I'm trying to balance the two out. My bad. I'm so sorry.
So what's your 1 to 10 rating, Lucas?
You ain't got no job.
6.5.
Okay. And then I think last but not least is Anthony and CJ.
I think me, you said out of 10.
Yeah.
Sorry, CJ, what'd you say?
No, I didn't say it. Yeah, I was saying
Oh,
I didn't say it like that. That's tough because we graded on the 5. So, no, I put it.
Go ahead and grade out of 5.
I put because me and D were saying 4.5 out of 5 when we did it.
Shit, that's 9.5 out of 10.
Right.
Nah, fuck it ain't. I gave it an 8. That's where it falls at. Don't
But
do that to me.
Hey, if you say 4.5 out of 5, that's 9.5 out of 10.
That's technically an 8.5.
That's technically an 8.5. That's technically is an 8.5.
Lean towards like an 8.5, maybe 9. So I'll say 8.5. Yeah,
All right, and then last but not least, Anthony.
9. I thoroughly enjoyed this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey Sam, if I can ask a quick question.
Did the other Anthony say something? I didn't hear his version.
He said
Tony gave
9.
it 9.
Okay, my bad.
This is a quick question, Sam, because I know you're
Did
trying to wrap
Did
things
Sam
up.
give a review? I didn't hear anything from Sam.
I'm about to once he asks this question.
Just a
Nigga
quick
be
question
hiding
to
his
you.
reviews.
Just a quick question to you, because I know you're trying to wrap everything up. With the title of the movie being Spider-Man: Homecoming, do you feel like they captured that title in the sense of the movie?
The first time I watched
Can
the
I answer
movie,
this? Okay, go ahead.
the first time I watched the movie, I really didn't get it. But everything fell down for him when he was going to his homecoming, and the revelation hit him where he was like, all right, I got to go to my homecoming dance. I got to go to the prom. I'm going to take the girl of my dreams. I'm going to take her out. He gets to Liz's door, and I kid you not, everybody in the theater was freaking out and looking like, oh, flip. Like, there is...
Nah, I wasn't. You heard me. I wasn't.
And so when he gets back to the dance, you know, you get the understanding like, all right, I got a fight or flight. I could sit here and go through this dance, or I could sit there and watch this man get away with, you know, really potentially ruining lives or getting his weapons. And so I think that was his turning point. Second time I watched it, I got the understanding of Homecoming. But me personally, I think that they should have named this Spectacular Spider-Man. I thought that Spectacular Spider-Man would have worked perfectly for the title.
Ultimate.
You're right. You're right.
Well, the comment on what Mo just said. Now, I hate that they did this, but the character Ned is Genki from the Ultimate series. There's no way he's gonna be the Hobgoblin. If they do make him the Hobgoblin, I don't know how the heck they're gonna do it. But that man, to me, it does a disservice to Miles Morales' character because his best friend is Genki, and that's who Ned is. So it's like, all right, I'm gonna steal Genki and make him Ned. And then now who's Miles Morales when they eventually, if they eventually give him a character, who's going to be his best friend kind of thing. So I had a problem with that from an internal standpoint. I haven't made a video about it, but they did something similar with that with the Flash on the CW. Like essentially what they're doing with his character, like he technically should be the next line of Flash, but they're not going to do that. Grant Gustin is going to be the continuous Flash.
You're right.
I have a real problem with that because if you really want to go with the comics, then do it right. Don't say, like just because it's a minority character, like you're gonna do him a disservice, kind of that. But I don't want to go there. I'm just saying the answer.
Hey, you said it. You said it.
No, bro, you said it.
Go with
you
it.
said it. Hey, look. Hey, Sam, you can go with it, bro. Hey, yo, Sam, I love that show, man. You can go on it because I agree with you. Thank you. Go.
Yo, Sam got. I've actually never seen Sam animated like this. Like he actually went there.
We just
hey, black superhero lives matter. That's what that was.
With that whole school thing, if it was Miles Morales would have been expelled. But
it's a whole lot of stupid mess.
Whoa. Wait a minute. Are you saying that?
Let me answer Najeer's question real quick. Homecoming. In two terms, I think the title did do it right because Homecoming could be viewed as two things. It could be viewed as, the homecoming dance or coming home to Marvel. And I believe in that sense, Homecoming, I'm trying to be like deep now for some reason. But Homecoming, he came home and he settled into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And that's one way you can view a Homecoming. A second way I can look at Homecoming is it was Homecoming. When you hear Homecoming, you think high school. And they did capture the high school feel of the movie. So yes, aside from the dance that he didn't really go to, it did answer. It did like do service to to the Homecoming thing. You know, he came home to Marvel, and he settled in the cinematic universe. And they did. When you say again, you hear Homecoming, boom, you just hear Homecoming, and it's all like, it's high school. Like it's a time in your life where, yeah. But as for Peter Parker, he's dealing with a lot of Spider-Man things, and but they captured the high school feel of the movie. Now, was it very well done? That's another debate, but it was.
Can I say something real quick?
Hold on.
Go ahead, Big Bill. My bad, homie.
And to both of your reasons why, I don't think it solidifies enough why the name of the movie should have been Homecoming. Besides the fact that it did return to the Marvel cinematic universe, but that doesn't usually, the title has something to do with the plot, and the Homecoming dance does nothing with the plot, and it returning back to the rights of Disney doesn't do nothing with the plot. However, I thought they had one great opportunity to put the icing on the cake for it, and then it went at the very, very end south. Captain America end credit scenes 2, when he said, hey, when you guys wait for something for a long time and you just waiting, and then it finally happens, I literally thought he was speaking about the rights of Spider-Man being returned back to Marvel until he said something else to us. Then I was like, oh, basically he's just talking about waiting to the end for the end credits, and then not being the end credit scene worth of anything. But I thought if he actually would have just dropped that last part, it would have made perfect sense. For it's just like he made a reference and sort of say a jab at Sony too. It's like, something's been bad for a long time, and you just been waiting, and it finally returns. I thought that would have been a perfect opportunity. But nonetheless, I was just wondering what you guys thoughts was on that, because I didn't think the title fit well with the plot or the theme of the movie at all.
Okay, let me speak real quick on the Homecoming, because I think I got a different perspective than most people did off of it. With home, to me, home is always comfort. So home is being in a comfortable place, either in life or for Spider-Man in what he does. So I always thought when it became from Homecoming, it was him finally becoming comfortable with the hero that he had to be at the time. So the whole film was about him wanting to be more evolved than he was. And in the end, he realizes in him rejecting the suit that, no, this is actually the person I'm supposed to be. So I always took it as him coming home was way more about him coming home and coming home to a base of him realizing this is the Spider-Man I'm supposed to be. Not necessarily about a dance, definitely not about him coming to Marvel, because Sony's way too involved in that for them to ever let some shit like that get by. But it was about him realizing this is the Spider-Man I need to be. This is me coming home. This is my comfort zone right now. Maybe when I get older, maybe when I evolve as an adult, I can move forward. But until that point, this is the Spider-Man I need to be. This is my home. This is my homecoming, to realize that this is the man I need to be for the city I need to be for right now. That's what I got out of Homecoming.
That's deep, Lucas. That was deep.
Wow.
What you smoking?
Yo, people in the chat being legit asking, what is Lucas on?
No, I've been in that chat room all day, and Lucas, you are like a highlight.
Yeah.
Because that's to me, that was always the feeling of it. The moment I saw the movie and I'm like, Homecoming, I'm like, okay, I understand. Like you got to bring it. I've been listening to Jay-Z 444 for way too many days. So many deep meanings have popped into my head, but that was one of them. And I'm like, I finally understand it. It's great to be comfortable in being a superhero you need to be.
All right. We got to end this part
This
one.
was awesome.
I can't believe this was only supposed to be a part one, but
nigga, there's another part to this.
That was supposed to.
What would you have?
I can't believe there were two parts.
There was
We were doing that.
There was supposed to be.
Part two, we just shitting on the movie. We just going in like, fuck Spider-Man, man.
Man, let me tell you about this motherfucker, man.
I can't believe
about this motherfucker swinging from the top of the top of the buildings and shit. He ain't even jump
gave
off
Spider-Man 20 million, and he gave me 20 million, 20 seconds on stage. Fuck was he thinking? We go all deep like that into Spider-Man in this part two.
So, well, we're gonna end this, everybody. Definitely go to the description bar below. Check everybody's channels out. And we've been going for 3 hours, or at least 2 hours and 33 minutes. So,
Damn.
if you guys want to leave your plugs before we leave, and we got to wrap things up.
I just like to say for the record that I've had long shows. I think our longest show ever was us talking about WCW. So that, congrats, Sam. You have
No, our longest is actually the one we had with our boys that don't have a show no more. That went on for 5 hours. I lie to you not. It was on Thanksgiving. It was either the day before Thanksgiving or around that time. It was an excellent show. It's worth the sit. I mean it. We need to put that up as a link, man. It's worth the sit. It's one of the best conversations we ever had, man.
Yeah, that Thanksgiving episode.
Nigga, that's not a sit for 5 hours. You don't fucking sit for 5 hours.
I would think
Well,
the
look,
longest show I've been on with
it's worth it. Yeah.
was when we
But yeah,
when we went in on Black Panther, the trailer. Mind you, that's a minute and 30-second trailer. We went in for about 90 minutes. So
I wasn't even a part of that one.
movie,
Don't
so
blame
this
me. I wasn't a part of that. I wasn't even a part of that. Don't blame me.
No, I don't, man. Because me, Sam, and Crosby, we were sitting up there like every second. It was like, oh man, this thing from this trailer, and then just start going into lore. So yeah.
Yes, exactly. This was a whole movie, so this makes sense. But that was a minute and 30-second trailer. For 90 minutes.
If I had to plug anything in, like I said, you can find 3 Black Geeks on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, SoundCloud, any place you can type in our name on Google, you'll find it and stuff. We'll probably do a Spider-Man. We're definitely going to push for a Spider-Man Homecoming show probably Tuesday. Actually, more likely it's going to be Tuesday when we do it and stuff. And yeah, so that's going to be fun. And yeah, just continue listening to our show.
Yeah, that's about it. Because he covered everything else. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I ain't got nothing else to say, man. See, I got to get used to that, man. Anyway.
Somebody cutting hair or something?
Nigga, are you cutting trees down? What the fuck is going on in the background there?
And he left. Damn.
Damn.
Hey,
Damn.
Hey, go check on him. Hey, put out an APV unit on that man. I heard something sound like he's about to get cut, and he rolled out.
Because clearly Leatherface was in the background, and then magically he just off the call. Like, god damn.
So now that there's only one Black Geek left,
nah. 2 Black Geeks. That's what we left with at this point.
That's right. Eris is doing his thing.
All right. Are we still plugging?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mo Crosby from Earth 2 Comicast. You can check us out on YouTube and on SoundCloud. Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays we drop episodes on YouTube, and on SoundCloud we drop our podcast on Thursdays. So check that out. We do weekly episodes. We've had Sam and Tony. We've had Sam and Tony on our podcast. We're looking to have some more of these guys on there, so it's going to be really great. Hopefully, when my partner Vito comes back, we can do our spoiler Spider-Man thing. I don't know how much Spider-Man I can talk anymore, but we'll see if we can get that content out for our viewers. And I just want to thank Sam again for having me on here. Looking forward to more of this moving forward.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming, bro.
Anytime.
All right. Big go belt, because you're the best nigga.
My bad, because I already plugged earlier. But yeah, again, 2 Chainz from the Big Go Belt Wrestling Podcast. Weekly episodes every Thursday at 8 p.m. Next week's gonna be a really exciting week. We will be the official pre-show for Nova Pro Wrestling that is in the Maryland, DC, Virginia area. It's our local indie show, so we'll be live at 6 p.m. from the JCC Community Center in Fairfax, Virginia. 8 o'clock on Thursday again for our weekly episodes, and we'll be interviewing the promoter of Nova Pro come Wednesday at whatever time. But anyway, find us on YouTube at Big Go Belt Wrestling Podcast, SoundCloud, Twitter, and Facebook.
Nice.
Dope.
Thanks for coming, bro.
Yeah, thanks for having me, dude.
Anthony, what's your podcast? And don't you blame me for it.
Oh, you're talking about me? All right, so
I said Anthony, not Tony.
I thought I was Anthony. I don't know. I've been drinking.
Clearly, because you went through stages of laying down in bed to wherever you are right now.
Oh yeah. Anyway.
Well, then let Tony go because you don't have a podcast for real. Go ahead, Tony.
Oh damn, Lucas. Anyway, I started a YouTube channel, Drunk Geek.
Because you was gonna blame me.
All I do is talk about movies or whatever I wake up and think about that day. And soon, me and Lucas are gonna be doing drunk movie reviews. So looking forward to that. You don't need that liver, Lucas. You got transplants coming.
Man, look, y'all need to have like a sober duo to help you guys out.
We already do. Like, I want Anthony to go first Tony, my bad, because I know Tony actually has one already off the ground. I'm expecting the podcast. So that's why I was letting Tony go first.
Yeah, thanks, Lucas. My YouTube channel, Anthony Rodriguez. You could find me on 13, sorry. And I will be home. I'm going to be watching this. At home. So this is Sam doing one of his hilarious vlogs. And I'll be home.
Yes!
No. Hey, turn that joint off. I'm about to mute you. I'm about to legit mute you.
Best things ever.
Oh.
So thank you guys all for coming in today. This was a amazing chat. I love hearing all of your guys' perspectives and takes on, and you guys are just awesome. And I hope to once again talk movies with you guys again. And Sam, thank you for inviting me on here. It's since there's been things I've been going through on the side. Just big thank you to Sam.
Yeah, man, I'm really glad that this really helped, and I'm sorry, like when everybody was all at once, you got a headache, but you came back, so
gotta stop moderating.
Cool. I guess I will leave it because clearly I talk too much. I'm good with that though, because I'm dope. So you need to hear me. I'm like the Kanye West of podcasting right now. My podcast will be jumping off soon because Sam has pressured me into doing this for years. It'll be a squad podcast. It's me, Anthony, and 2 other people focusing on entertainment news, social issues, relationship shit, just everything in general because our minds work extremely different and we want to talk about everything. Shit should be launching in about a week or 2. So I'm going to clearly have Sam on there because that's my boy. Probably Chris, probably everybody because I'm a friendly nigga. So we're gonna drop that joint in about 2 weeks to get everybody on there. Again, I am going to do the little drunken movie reviews with Anthony. We have so many different perspectives on shit, so it'll be dope. Other than that, I mean, you just catch me on Sam's podcast because I've been on like 6 of them at this point, yelling and screaming on, so they're dope. Except for Get Out. Don't watch that one because I come across as a little racist. I don't want you to see that one. But all the rest of them jokes are cool.
Baby creeping.
Oh man, so yeah, thanks Lucas for coming through, man, and definitely everybody that's here. I appreciate you guys here. Definitely go to the description bar below and check it out. If you are in the DMV area, there is a new comic book store that has been opened up as of July the 8th, and that's the Venus's. That is location in the Union Station, so definitely go and check that out. Shout out to them for opening that up.
So they replaced the other one that was in there before.
Yeah, so
question, do all the comic books have bubbles? Do all the comic books have bubbles?
I don't know, but I knew they have an actual website. You can go to venuscomicshop.com and you can go and check it out.
Shout out to Venus.
And they actually have a Facebook group and everything. So for them to actually have like a well-condensed, structured comic book store and put it in Union Station again, I really feel like that's a big push that we should rally behind. So
hey,
anyway,
definitely. Definitely.
So we gotta go. Keep it locked, JVS. We ain't gonna stop. Thanks everybody for coming and check these guys' podcasts and tubes out. We'll talk to y'all guys soon. Peace.
Peace.
Out.